Nestled into the deep valley beneath the legendary peaks of the Mont Blanc Massif, Chamonix can claim to be one of the world's true climbing meccas. The town itself is home to roughly 10,000 people, although there can be 10 times that many in the Chamonix Valley on a busy summer's day. Although home to some wonderful cafes, bars and restaurants, Chamonix is best known for its mountains and the extraordinary access to them that the extensive lift network provides. There are almost limitless possibilities for exploring the mountains here on foot, ski or in the air. But for one weekend per year, the local population come down from the peaks, grab a seat in the Place Mont Blanc and watch the world's best climbers aiming to win in one of the IFSC's most famous and iconic of venues. And what a beautiful evening we have for the competition here. The sun is setting on the mountains of Place du Mont Blanc. Is absolutely packed. Where else would you rather be in the world than watching 16 of the world's best climbers in one of the world's most legendary climbing towns? I'm Charlie Bosco, very pleased to say that as I had in the semi-final, I have climbing journalist Matt Groom alongside me. Matt, we've just been up, have a look at the routes from the semi-final. The men and women have swapped sides on the wall and they've also swapped styles.
Yeah, so in the semi-finals we saw a more simplistic style for the women, whereas this time it's the men who have got that brutal but fairly straightforward climbing. So left over right all the way up, using that big red volume on the edge, and that's where we're going to see a couple of falls early on according to the route setters. And then the women, really quite technical, especially with that first initial crack.
Yeah, it's a really strange looking route. You'll see when we cut to it, there's a huge crack on the about a third of the way up the women's route, and it's a really strange feature. We're told it's relatively easy to climb. As Matt said with the men's route, all things are relative. Simple climbing doesn't mean easy. But there we can see it just before the steepening on the wall. You can see that big feature on the women's route, and as Matt said, it's complex climbing. It's what the men had earlier on, and as Mont Blanc, the summit of Mont Blanc, looks down on us, hopefully we'll keep cutting to that shot, because as the sun sets it just gets better and better. I believe we can see the women's start list. Split finals as ever in the league climbing, so it's the women out first. We'll conclude their final, hopefully speak to the winner if logistics and time allow afterwards, and then we'll bring you the men's finals. And there are the 8 women who will compete: Ashima Shireshi, Hannah Schubert, Akio Noguchi, Jane Kim, Meiko Taki, Anak Verhoeven, Janja Gambret and Jessica Pilz. Now, I guess the biggest surprise in that list is that Janja Gambret is coming out 7th and not 8th. We normally see her climbing last, having come top in the semi-final round. She said conditions were very hot on the wall. She couldn't quite reach the high point set by Jessie Pilz. So Jessie Pilz really in the driving seat, and Janja with some work to do. In the men's competition, 2 Japanese climbers out first, 2 very young and relatively inexperienced Japanese climbers, both competing in their 2nd World Cup. Shuta Tanaka, Taisei Homer, Will Bosi, Domen Skofic, Sascha Lehmann, Stefano Ghisolfi, Alexander Megos and Jakob Schubert. Legend of the sport and winner of the first World Cup in Villars in 2018. And Matt, and it really is an incredible lineup, and 1 or 2 surprise climbers in there. We've got the 2 Japanese climbers out first in the men's competition. It could be anyone's.
It really could be, and it's been interesting. I've been watching social media since we came away. Will Bose's Instagram seems to be blowing up. First time he's in the final, and it seems like most of the English climbing scene is, or the British, climbing scene is behind him at the moment. So very exciting for him. And I didn't know if Alex would make it through. Alex Megos, like, you just never know with him.
Well, last week in Villars, he's really struggled with a clip. You might remember if you were watching the semi-finals, he got himself in a complete tangle trying to clip a quick draw, ran out of energy and fell off, ended up finishing 9th. No such problems here in Chamonix. Goes through in 2nd place. A lot of people looking forward to seeing him. But as well as the unknown up-and-comers, I mentioned the 2 Japanese climbers both competing in the 2nd World Cup. It's full of legends. We've got Akio Noguchi, we've got Jakob Schubert, I'm looking down the list, Janak Verhoeven already becoming a legend. The crowd here in Chamonix in for a treat.
I said to you earlier I had shivers when I looked at the wall. It's kind of like changing to full-blown goosebumps. The atmosphere out there is incredible. We walked through the crowd early and everyone is up for it, everyone is psyched. And as you said, look at that view of Mont Blanc. It's just, I'm getting too excited. I can't calm myself down.
Yeah, no, it's fine, we need the psych. It's good. In for a real treat here in Chamonix. And there is the view from the top of the wall, looking down. So we'll have the women's presentation, followed by the women's observation and the women's final. The men's presentation, observation and final. So a full evening of climbing coming up for you. And here they come. Here is Ashima.
Looking very calm considering she's in the final in front of all those people, looking very focused.
Yeah, I mean, it must be an overwhelming experience, particularly the two young Japanese climbers, second ever World Cup. You're in, can we call it the most famous climbing town in the world? I'm told there's over 10,000 people in the Place Mont Blanc. You're in a final. It's massive. Could go either way for them. You either thrive on the excitement, or you feel the pressure and you don't perform to your best. We shall see. There's Hannah Schubert, said on social media earlier on today she's always dreamed of being in a Chamonix final. Doesn't get much better than being there alongside your brother. Next out, there's a woman that should need no introduction, but she's getting a pretty big one from the DJ. And whether she needs one or not, she certainly deserves it. Kiyo Noguchi, leading the standings in the overall for the Boulder World Cups this year. If she can claim the title in that, it will be her 5th overall title in bouldering. Add to that her 4 seasons as a runner-up in bouldering. You've got a legend of the sport competing in a lead final.
Yeah, an amazing all-rounder. It's so good to see her at this high level. It bodes well for the Olympics coming up in a couple of years.
Yeah, just when you think you might have a good little tip, insider's tip for the Olympics, suddenly you think, well, they've got to beat Kiyo Noguchi. Jane Kim, we've seen her competing in the speed this weekend as well. Vastly successful and long career. Looks like she can't wait to get on with observation.
I love her Red Bull hat. You don't see those very often. You see the normal ones, but that's a special one, that.
27-time lead World Cup winner Jane Kim. Here comes Meiko Taki. Second final in a row for her. Looks like she's enjoying the experience. Team Japan are very well represented, and they're all down the front of the wall if you're wondering who Meiko Taki and Akiyo are smiling at there. Out next, the woman who last week broke her run of not missing a final for 5 years, Annette Verhoeven. She's back at the business end of a World Cup here in Chamonix after the disappointment of Villars when she slipped in the semi-final.
She's obviously relishing it. That smile has not left her face for the last couple of days. I've been watching her quite closely. She's loving it here.
We really can't overstate what a fabulous venue this is. We are literally directly under the summit of Mont Blanc and the Aiguille du Midi. The sun is shining on the peaks behind, the walls in shade, conditions for climbing good. And just look at that lineup. Janja Garnbret, we said it in the semi-final, one of the toughest challenges Matt and I face as climbing journalists is finding new superlatives to describe her. And I said it when we were reading out the start list, she didn't top the semi-final. We normally see her coming into the final knowing that basically all she needs to do is match the other competitors. That's not the case because Jessie Pilz put in a fantastic performance, and quite rightly in the driving seat going into this final, and Janja has got some work to do. There are your 8 finalists. They'll be climbing the wall on the right. We mentioned it earlier, that huge crack and third of the way up the wall formed by multiple cheetah volumes bolted together. It's a really funky looking route. The climbers will be glad of every second of observation. In the men's route, I think they'll walk out and just think, well, if I can hang on, I'll do pretty well. In the women's route, there's a lot of figuring out to do.
The women's also goes through the heart of that massive red volume in the middle of the wall. It really cuts straight through the middle of it. And it steepens an already steep wall. That's what I realized looking underneath it today. I mean, it's already at an angle, and that thing on it makes it even harder.
Yeah, there's a lot of sections of this women's route where you could fall off. We saw in their semi-final, virtually every climber pretty much cruise the first third to half of the route. I don't think we're going to see that in the final. There are lots of opportunities for silly little mistakes that could cost you. You're going to need to concentrate on every single move here. And there is the sportsmanship of climbing. The two women that are seemingly, they're the 3 women. Perfect timing from Jane Kim. the three women that have dominated lead climbing in the past couple of seasons, all sharing information. And there's our first good look at the route.
See, that crack is a bit deceptive because it's not going to climb like a crack, no jamming involved in that. The holds are there and they're ticked, but it's a tricky sequence and there's a lot of holds in it, so working out that bottom section, it might prove difficult.
There's a huge red feature which dominates the wall here in Chamonix. Then they're on to more volumes, and then a pretty bouldery, quite thuggy section up here. Again, route setters were saying it's okay if you keep going. Not really a lot of scope for pausing and thinking, just keep on yarding through those volumes, heading out right, and then you've got a little jump for the top hold.
See, he explained that to me, and I'm looking at it, I still have no idea how you get through that bit. Like, no idea. And he did hand movements and everything, but I haven't got a clue. So I'm looking forward to that, to see who gets there to show me which way it is.
Yeah, it's often the way with the route setters. They're saying, yeah, left hand here, right hand here, and you think, oh, okay, I'll take your word for it. Yeah,
I nodded a lot.
Yeah, I might be able to do the first move, but not the not the 43rd.
Those cheetah holds caught out Romain Desgrange in the semi-finals because, as we were saying, the grey bit of them has no texture, completely slick, and unless you're putting all of your pressure through, you're just going to fall straight off that. The black bit obviously more grippy.
That is the top of the wall in Chamonix. That's where they're all aiming for. We've had some spectacular moments here in the Place du Mont Blanc down the years. Who will write their name in history this time? Janja, fresh from a win in Villars, still the only woman to have won a World Cup in Villars. It's 3 in a row for her. Can she repeat the feat in Chamonix?
Sorry, I bought a thesaurus, so I've got a few new words to describe it.
Yeah, if Matt sounds like he's got verbal diarrhea, it's just some new adjective he's looked up. I have to say though, she's got a real fight on her hands. Jessie Pilz looked really strong in that semi-final.
Yeah, I'm very, very focused. I mean, she's always a sort of bubble of serenity, that lady, but today especially, she just looks so in control. She wants her first win. I mean, what, 10 second places? I'm saying this and I can't remember myself, but it's a lot. There's a lot of podiums anyway without a win.
10 podiums without a win, and she's certainly good enough to win a World Cup. But I don't necessarily think it's a psychological leap. If you look who she's up against, it's incredibly impressive to get on the final. I mean, you've got to knock one of those three off to get into the podium places. I don't think there's any mental block necessarily with Jessie, but it would be nice to get over that hurdle of the podiums. We do see it with a lot of climbers though, where they get a lot of podiums. The same thing happened to Annette Verhoeven. She was collecting podiums, but not that elusive win. And then in Arco 2016, she got over the line. Jane and Janja sharing methods. Can't quite make out who Hannah Schubert's talking to. I think that could be Akio Noguchi. Jessie just doing her own thing. We've had a question, well not a question, an observation on Twitter. Hashtag IFSC WC if you want to get in touch. Charlie Bosco and Matt Groom here in Chamonix. No long haul flights from Matt in hotels like we normally have. He rode his bike to the venue. We're easing him in gently to the IFSC way.
I just jogged up Mont Blanc via the venue, you know, just a quick afternoon stroll.
And then you woke up.
No, it's good for me. I mean, this is my hometown, so it's brilliant to see this square full of people. We were saying in the semi-finals, a very educated crowd. Everyone here seems to be a climber or into something extreme. So, so when they watch these climbers, they really know what they're talking about.
Yeah, just about to say, we had an observation on Twitter from Alesh Tapina. He says, tonight you almost cannot tell the commentators apart, well, except for the hair.
Ah, mate, mine's going, it's fine. A couple of years, it'll be gone.
You said it, not me. There comes a day where you just got to get the clippers out, man.
Maybe.
Don't worry, you got a while left.
I'm wearing your shirt as well, thanks for that. People have been commenting that it isn't ironed. I received it like this. It's not my fault.
Trust me, they are iron-proof, these shirts. I ironed it once and decided never to bother again.
Il y avait Megos, 74 sprinteurs qui étaient là avec des t-shirts somptueux cette année. Alors à chaque fois ils sont beaux, mais là je pense qu'il a touché le summum de son art. Bravo à tous les bénévoles qui ont travaillé, tous les assureurs, parce que ces grimpeurs...
So nearing the end of our time now.
Yeah, 6 minutes is up.
Goes quickly, doesn't it? 6 minutes sounds like a long time, but when you've got to work out every tiny bit of that route, it's not a lot of time.
Et à partir de là, on va laisser 2 minutes pour que la première se prépare. François, on est tellement ravis d'avoir la première.
Last glances back there.
Yeah, often we see the climbers doing slightly like Anak is doing, trying to catch every last glimpse, but you notice that May and Akio are quite happy just to stroll off the stage. Sometimes the officials have got a right fight on their hands trying to shepherd everyone out of the way. No such worries this evening. They're either completely vexed by it and think, well, I'll just get up there and see what happens, or they've got their method sorted.
One advantage of our commentary position here is we have a view into the backstage area where the athletes warm up, and we get to see their reactions when they come off the route, which can always be quite interesting, because I think it's often they're very, very calm in front of an audience and they come back here and they vent their true emotions. So we'll be able to let you know if any shoes are thrown.
That is the Place Mont Blanc in Chamonix. That's not actually the bulk of the crowd. That's looking over to the left as you look out from the wall. That's straight out from the wall. And as per usual, when we pan across people in the front rows, it's spot the famous climb, and there is the crowd. Still sitting. Come on, get up. MC trying to G them up. Roads closed all around the venue. It's the only show in town tonight. Team Spain down the front there.
Too much sugar going on there.
Yeah, just spotted Ramame sitting in the front of the crowd. There's the good people of Chamonix. Bring your camping chair, that's the secret method. You can see everyone sitting on the concrete. Don't think you'd win many friends, but you'd have a good view.
You in the middle sitting there, everyone's throwing stuff at you.
Smugly sitting there,
yeah.
Beer cans whizzing past your head. Another good look at the wall. The sun still on the peaks behind the wall here in Chamonix, but darkness comes quickly, and with it comes very cold temperatures, and there you can see it, the Bosses Ridge on the right hand skyline that leads to the summit of Mont Blanc. It's Futaba Ito just spotted herself on the screen. Tomoe Narasaki might be able to make out right back there with his head back. Disappointed not to make the final.
You think they'd be used to seeing themselves on the screen by now, but they're just as excited as the crowd.
Speed wall on the left there. We had a great, pretty eventful speed climbing final last night. It's all about lead climbing tonight. It will be next week in Briançon as well. In Arco, the speed climbers are back in action, but next week in Briançon it's lead only. We've got 4 lead World Cups in the space of 4 weeks. This is the second one. Last week we were in Villars. As I mentioned, Briançon coming up and Arco.
I would imagine that sort of helps the athletes get into a rhythm with this. They start getting into that mindset of competing and resting and competing.
Yeah, I personally find it slightly easier, because you're not saying hi to everyone that you've not seen for ages. You're not remembering how everything works and where to find everything in the venue. Everything's just familiar. You've been hanging out with everyone for a few weeks. You're quite relaxed, and you pretty much focus on what you need to do.
It's been interesting talking to a few of the athletes, what they've been up to for the last couple of days, because some are training fairly hard and others kind of just relax and sit back and let things happen. And as Stefano Ghisolfi, he was saying he's had 1 gym session, and apart from that he just chills out, lets his body recover, so he's ready and completely unpumped for this competition. If we keep cutting back to that angle, you'll slowly see those mountains turning pink.
You were waxing on about this earlier.
I just love pink power.
I'm with you. You do get pink 30 seconds where they do just turn pink, and it is incredible.
Yeah, especially when you're on a bivvy up in the mountains looking at that. It's a good place to be.
Better to be in the Place de Mont Blanc watching a Shima with a beer in your hand, but à chacun son goût, as they say around here.
You can hear lots of talking. It's we are right in the middle of all the action here. There's people going past all the time. So Shima starting off. Good holds to start with. Some of them worse than others, but fairly simple just to pull through this opening section, get your head into the route.
Not easy for a Shima. The DJ's put on this kind of heartbeat soundtrack, adding to the tension slightly.
She has, let alone her.
So yeah, she's now entering this huge crack system through the dual texture volumes. There's screw-on holds, 4 screw-on holds through this section. And again, as we mentioned, a relatively easy to climb section. Don't overthink it too much. You can see the 4 screw-ons mentioned on that upper section. So on the third one now, there's one more and then she's out of it. Just bear in mind though, the grey section of the volumes has absolutely no friction. So all around her hand, apart from the blue hold she's currently on and the one next to it, nothing doing for a Shima.
Just taking her time, doesn't want to make a mistake early on here.
Now she gets a bit more dynamic. Have to be precise with the feet here. If they slip onto that volume, you'll be off. There's a few more committing moves in this section. The first one of them, not a jump as such, but definitely a move you've got to commit to, and you've got to be reasonably accurate because there's a screw-on hold you're aiming for, and that's exactly how you do it.
She must feel better after that. It's a sort of a high energy move. She knows she's on track now. She can settle down, enjoy the rest of the route.
We were chatting about this earlier. It would be an incredible story if a Shima was to win her first World Cup.
I love watching Ashima's heel hooks. She seems to lock them in better than almost anyone else. It's a real sort of spider-like quality on the wall.
Seemingly the first small mistake there from Shima, went for a clip and couldn't quite reach it. We had some quite awkward clips in the semi-finals. Uncomfortable positions, people really having to think about whether they went for a few moves before they clipped or got the draw clipped earlier on from an uncomfortable position. Seemed to be quite a big feature of the semi-final. So just over half her time remaining here for Shima. It's not an especially tall wall in Chamonix. I wouldn't have thought time will be a factor, but she won't be able to slow down much. She hasn't got much time to spare if she wants to go all the way to the top. Heading out left now onto the huge red feature in the middle of the wall.
Perhaps just using those rests early on, because this next section there isn't a huge amount of time or the holds to rest through here, so you've got to be fresh for it.
Slaps up with the left hand, Shima, the feet cut loose.
That toe hook vital. The route setter was talking to us about it, saying you need to get that locked in, or his next moves just don't work without it. She signals to the crowd. Awesome to see that, and they immediately get behind her. 2 minutes, 18 seconds left. Just getting that bicycle position in, 1 foot pressing, 1 hooking. Up to these crimps, we had a little look at these crimps, and they are small, not the best holds you want, but the angle is starting to get a little bit more amenable here. Into this semi-rest press position.
It's a tougher position to than it looks to hold on to that shoulder press. When you've been climbing hard like that, reaching out and putting a lot of force through your shoulder, yeah, it gives your forearms a rest, but it's uncomfortable position to hold. It takes a lot out of you. But Ashima is looking really, really smooth here. The only visible mistake, seemingly, that slightly awkward clip lower down. Since then, it's been reasonably smooth sailing. Just keep an eye on that clock, though, bottom right of the screen. 1 minute 15 left. The top section, I think, should climb quite quickly, but you've got to get there. And yeah, again, opting to take a pretty sizable rest. Still resting from Ashima. I think time definitely becoming a factor now. Now she sets off with 50 or so seconds to go. Crowd getting behind her now. She's into the volumes at the top. She's not a million miles off the top of the route. There's the angle to show it from. So this is a bouldery section. Best advice the route setters could give was just keep on going. Keep an eye as well on the clock on the bottom right of your screen. She's got 30 seconds left, 26 seconds left, 25. Time definitely becoming a factor. Has she looked down? Is she aware of that? Ultimately, it was not the deciding factor for Ashima. Fantastic first effort. A high point set early on.
Yeah, it was good to see, because in the semis we didn't get that many athletes coming through to that top head wall, so I think that's an indication that we're going to see hopefully some tops to come. That move looked a long way for her, coming off the change in angle up to that big vertical volume, almost at the limit of her stretch.
Not much emotion being betrayed by Ashima. And imagine she's got to be pretty happy with that. Let's have a look at the, this is earlier on. This was the first kind of pretty committing move. Stuck it really nicely, never really looked in doubt. The right hand landed perfectly. And again, that's not the easiest of moves. It's a relatively small sweet spot on that volume. This was entering the huge red feature. And this was where it came to an end. I was worried about her for time. She judged her energy about right. She gave it all she had. It was just as she bumped the left hand up.
Yeah, she was on the tick mark there, so I think she had the hold. It's just perhaps running out of steam at the top of the wall. Hannah Schubert coming out now.
Yeah, Hannah Schubert, sister of Jakob, who will climb last in the men's final.
Gives the crowd a wave, that's nice to see.
Yeah, she said this is a dream come true to be climbing the Chamonix final. Hey, you might as well enjoy it. Been climbing in the World Cups for 4 years now. Made her debut in 2014 in Imst, about an hour down the road from her hometown of Innsbruck. And made a couple of finals last year. Villa and Xiamen. She was in the commentary box for the final last time in Chamonix. And did mention once or twice that she preferred to be on the wall, which I don't take personally, and her wish is granted.
I'm pleased I'm here with you, Charlie.
There's no danger of you being in the final next year.
I didn't enter though, you see. Next year, we'll see.
So, into that volume section. Slight fumble with the clip, but otherwise steady away still.
Looking slightly more confident than Ashima at this point. Ashima seemed to work her way into the route as Hannah started off. Nicely confident, nicely strong.
Yeah, everyone you chat to that's been around the Innsbruck scene over winter has been saying Hannah is looking really strong. Training's been going really well. It's been a very productive winter for her down the wall and in the gym. She's looking cruise mode here. 1 minute 20 elapsed, 4:40 still to go.
Her right foot half using that crack, half using the hold. She's swapped to the heel now to rock up, and a toe. A few different methods tried there.
So here's that first jump move that we saw Ashima get absolutely perfect. Just got to be accurate. Take your time lining up for it, probably quite wisely. Clearly got plenty of energy left, so it'd be a shame to make a mistake early on. No problems at all. So now she'll get that clip done. You move out with the right hand, and again you've got a somewhat tricky move, slapping up to the next volume with the left hand. Nice and solid. Just saw her sway out to the right slightly with the effort of hanging on.
Quite a shouldery route this, with especially these lower down moves. Burns out those big muscles quickly.
Crowd quite quiet here in Chamonix. Slightly eerie feeling, I have to say. We're used to a lot of noise.
Shall I go liven them up?
But yeah, they're quite quiet today, and Hannah climbing in a very atmospheric silence, just the odd shout from the Austrian team coming out. Half her time elapsed. Still a lot of climbing ahead, but as we saw with Ashima, you can climb the top section a bit quicker than the lower section, it would seem, especially seeing as she took advantage of so many of the rests lower down. So she'll pop out left onto the red feature. Again, time just potentially becoming an issue. Not necessarily time to climb, but it doesn't leave you a lot of chance to rest or pause or think too much from here with 2 minutes 15 left on the clock. You need to just keep on motoring.
Again, reading that section perfectly, same as Ashima, no hesitation really, swinging those feet over, locking them in.
Maximum efficiency, not the most comfortable place to clip from, but she got it done quickly. And now making her way on to that huge red feature. It is an incredible place to climb in the middle of this massive wall with 10,000 people watching and Mont Blanc behind. Anna Schubert gets that shoulder move locked in. She's not hanging around now. She's got just over a minute and a half left. Slaps out to the right. You just saw a grimace on her face as we caught a glimpse of her expression just then.
So this is an awkward clip, and you can see just trying to work out where to clip it from. She half thought about reaching down to it then.
And Hannah just slapped up one more move. I think she might have realised the clip wasn't going to happen and thought she'd get the plus. Let's see if we can have a look. Happy with her performance, disappointed? Hard to tell. I suspect she enjoyed the experience, certainly gave it everything.
Tired is the overwhelming emotion I can see there. Must be exhausting coming down off that.
So as Hannah Schubert makes her way off the stage, Ashima still holding the lead after only 2 climbers. Here was Ashima's high. No, this is Hannah. So this was that first little pop, little jump. And there was the clip. Yeah, I wonder if she'd abandoned any thoughts of the clip. You can see her look down at it. Yeah, I think she knew that there's no way she was going to get that clip, so she got the plus from the judges, I would imagine. We'll just wait till all score comes through. Yes, she did. 40 plus for Hannah Schubert. So Akio Noguchi out onto the wall in Chamonix. Fantastic feature of the World Cup since the Olympic announcement. Climbers doing all 3 disciplines. And not just dabbling either. This is Akio's second final in the space of a week in league climbing.
This kind of wall in Chamonix will suit her. It's a little bit shorter. It's steep. The routes are quite bouldery in their style, especially that semi-final we saw. Very clear sections of difficulty. Be interesting to watch the time on this one, because we have 2 athletes fairly slow through that bottom, and whether that is the way to do it, whether you need to climb slowly and then build it through the top, or whether Kia will climb a little bit faster.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It was pretty clear that the first two climbers didn't especially need the rest, but just took it because it was available. Wouldn't expect Kyo to struggle too much on these volume sections here. Just the 51 boulder podiums for her. 5th last time out in Villa. Looking solid here.
Just a little rethink on that hold. Not a big deal, just a slight adjustment.
She had a brilliant qualifier at Kyo. She was one of 4 women to top both of the qualifying routes. If anyone had any questions over her endurance as a boulderer, they were firmly answered yesterday in Chamonix. And a decent semi-final as well. She qualified for the final in 6th place, hence climbing 3rd. Climbers coming out in reverse order as ever.
Go into this shouldery section now.
This is pretty smooth going so far from Kyo, putting that notorious flexibility and mobility to good use.
Double heel hooks, just so cool to see that move.
4 minutes left on the clock for her. It's amazing really, because Kyo is 28 now, turning 29 this year, and normally one thing you lose as you get a tiny bit older is the flexibility. Not happening to Kyo. Still one of her strengths. We've seen it already today. She looks like she's beginning to fight now. The last couple of moves she's had to slap for slightly. You can see where the previous 2 climbers got. Ashima still with the high point.
Kyo slightly quicker as well at this point.
Yeah, she hasn't taken nearly as many rests. We saw Hannah Schubert with around half this time at this stage. So Kyo's got ages, she's got more than half her time remaining. Now she opts to rest. It might not be quite as comfortable a rest position as some of the ones lower down, but she probably needs it a bit more than she would have done towards the start of the route. She also did a pretty good job there of getting some weight onto her feet and some weight off her arms.
She looks slightly uncomfortable for a moment there, just eyed up that slap into the volume.
Yeah, slightly different method of doing it as well. Seems to be back on track now.
The danger of this clip here coming up, we saw Hannah slightly miss this.
What's Kyo's tactic here? She's just trying to get the quick draw swingy, I think, so she can catch it when it comes towards her. Requires a bit of timing. This is costing energy for Kyo. She flicked the quick draw to make it swing. She had the rope in her mouth. She's obviously let it go, and she's decided to clip from a different position. She doesn't want to go too far and then have to reach right down to clip. That's experience for you. It didn't quite work. I saw the theory, lift the quick draw up with your leg, and again she slaps up, and that quick draw clipping that quick draw proving one of the cruxes. We lose Akio Noguchi just coming over the lip of the wall here in Chamonix.
It's a shame that you can see the look on her face. She wasn't happy with that. You felt like she had more to give there. She could have just quickly got that quick draw and moved through. She seemed to have a lot of energy. Looks back up at the wall.
Look at the time as well, 1:57 left on the clock. That's a slightly disappointing one for Akio. You feel like she left something on the wall there. There was more to be had. Let's have a look at her highlights from the route.
It was that readjustment. She just kind of hesitated for a second. Not a big deal, that low down.
She climbed really quickly. A couple of jerky movements on the red feature, but other than that, it was smooth and steady throughout. But this was just trying to find a position to clip from. I bet she was kicking herself that she didn't make the earlier attempt to clip work when she flicked the quick draw. She just went a bit too far. And there you see it. She moves ahead of Hannah Schubert on count back to the previous round, but she gets the same score in the final, 40 plus. Schubert still leading the way. Jane Kim out next, the 27-time lead World Cup winner and a Boulder World Cup win to her name as well.
It's interesting because we didn't see Ashima struggle with that quick draw at all. She seemed to move through it very, very smoothly.
Yeah, I think had we realised what a big feature it was going to be, we'd have paid more attention, but I can't say I remember Ashima struggling with it at all. Here's Jane, the very fetching red sandals. Get there. Of course, the climbers get an individual observation time. They don't have to jump straight onto the wall. Have a final look, and that's exactly what Jane is doing. Actually made her World Cup debut here in Chamonix in 2004.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we saw her on this. Just see her starting her clock back. We saw her on the speed wall earlier on this week in Chamonix.
I mentioned this in the semi-finals, and someone did comment on YouTube about it. She has a massive chalk bag, which is probably quite wise. You don't want to be faffing around with a chalk bag when you're that pumped.
Yeah, there you call it, more of a boulder bucket. Certainly no danger of running out. Jane with that lovely, smooth style. The route setters seeming to think this is a relatively awkward route, but you never really know from Jane Kim's movements. Awkward, steep, pumpy, crimpy. Doesn't really seem to affect how she does it.
That high foot was outrageous then. I don't think anyone else has done that, really showing her flexibility.
So already a minute used up of her time, Jane, but she's pretty good at measuring her pace. She knows she's never going to be one of those climbers that gets to the top of the wall in half the allowed time. She knows her natural style is to be a bit more steady, but she'll measure the time well, you'd imagine. Now she hits the very steepest bit of the wall where it really kicks back. It feels as if you're going to land on the crowd if you fall off. I was up there in a cherry picker, not on a rope, I might add.
That looks scary enough.
I don't like that.
It's wobbly.
So here's Jane. No problem with the jump. As we've seen with the first three climbers, we've all safely negotiated the next couple of moves. It's just a move out right, a big slap with the left hand, as they say in British climbing circles. It's all there. You just got to go for it. It's all there. No problem at all. It barely looked like a slap, to be honest. It was the most static way of doing it we've seen.
Again, that locked in heel hook. All the athletes so far utilising that. And a semi-rest in the middle there. Have a double heel hook.
There is a tiny screw-on hold on the top of that volcano hole, by the way. If you're wondering what Jane is holding on to, you might just be able to see it there. There it is. She grabs it with the right hand as well.
It's worth remembering the angle here. From the camera when it's face on like that, it looks like a vertical wall almost, and that looks like a ledge she's holding on to, but it is overhanging and it is slopey, so not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, the angle of the quick draws gives it away. Very steep wall, and as Matt said earlier on, the big red feature in the middle of the wall makes it even steeper. It kicks out again. Again, the crowd relatively quiet here in Chamonix. We're used to a raucous bunch, and Jane Kim just being left to it. I think the venue MC is imploring people to give her a bit of support, and now you can hear it coming through.
Interesting, Jane having a few problems with this move. I think it's just a case of going for it, swinging that left foot over, just committing to it. Not using that toe. She's the first one to do that, not go out left, use a bicycle method. Now she uses a foot out, but totally different method through there.
Yeah, we've seen people leading with the feet out to those two volumes that the left foot is currently on. She completely ignores the left-hand one. Now the crowd getting behind her. The MC asks for a cheer and he gets one. Night falling in the Place Mont Blanc, and 14 years on from the first time she appeared in a World Cup, Jane Kim is still at it and still extraordinary. Now she's at the clip. It's not often we pay quite this much attention to clips, but I mentioned in the semi-final they seem to be a real feature, and the same is coming true so far in the women's final as well. Swings the feet out, beautifully done. If she can just get it's a slightly fiddly one. Oh, that feels like an eternity to get that quick draw clip from Jane Kim. Now she gets it done. Now can she start making a dent on Ashima's high point.
1 minute 3 seconds left on the clock.
Crowd enjoying this. She looks to have measured her pace pretty well. She's got quite a few moves to go, but I think with 55 seconds left and pump kicking in and a section that climbs pretty quickly, that should be enough time to get the job done. I'd be surprised if she gets timed out here. We haven't really seen these moves though. We're taking the word of the route setters. Jane Kim, the left foot goes up, the left hand lands. The Chamonix crowd responds to a new high point. She reaches out right. She's got 30 seconds to get this done if she wants to top the route. Again, she's got a bit of a tricky clip. It's now down by her feet. She's got to find a way, and again she's clever about it. Reaches down between her legs, and it's slightly quicker than last time. She needs to have a look at the time though. She's got 15 seconds left. Regardless of whether she tops, Jane Kim has only got 10 more seconds on the Chamonix wall. Make that 5 seconds. She needs to get this move done quickly, and she slips, heading out right on the yellow Chamonix volume. Crowd love it. The spotlight illuminates her. A legend of the sport has just set a new high point here in Chamonix, and it looks like it took a lot out of her. We said she'd measure her pace. She was maybe a move or two short time-wise. To be honest, it's quite rare you see Jane Kim lowered down and sit on the floor like that. I think that took a lot out of her. I wonder, even if she'd had an extra 30 seconds, whether she would have got it done. But still, brilliant performance.
Evident example of how experience counts. It was those 2 quick draws. I mean, she didn't really hesitate. Straight out right, managed to hook it underneath her. Just read that beautifully. And here we can see this clip. Straight out with the right foot.
So we saw Akio Noguchi tying herself up in knots, trying to figure that out. And this was where we lost Jane. So was it just rushing for time, or did we have a slip? Let's have a look. Yeah, she tried to come over her knee, and no matter how flexible you are, that knee was just in the way. She couldn't kind of get her torso over the top of it.
Yeah, she needed a few more seconds just to rock over and make that move doable.
But there we see it, 48 plus. She takes the lead. Ahead of Ashima and Akio. Akio's compatriot Meiko Taki will be next on the wall. Second of 2 Japanese women in the final. There are also 2 in the men's final, both of whom are young, up-and-coming climbers in their second ever World Cup.
May just looking like she's having a brilliant time out here. Quite a bit smaller, but climbed fantastically in the semi-finals. That smile replaced now by that steely look of determination.
Yeah, she was beaming in the semi-finals. It looked like she had the time of her life. And always a fantastic climber to watch. It's like watching her go to war. She just gives it absolutely everything. As Matt said, she is very, very short, which makes some moves easier, some trickier. But it means you've got to climb aggressively and with full commitment. You can't afford to be half-baked about moves.
Yeah, we've seen it from a few people, that springy style. Look, almost climbing into the crack there. Have a little sit down.
I wonder if there's a head jam in there a bit higher up.
Oh, I'd find it.
Get the fire service to pluck you out tomorrow morning.
Can't really leave you there that long, Charlie.
Apologies again if you're hearing a bit of shouting. We're right next to a public walkway here in Chamonix. Family just walking past having a small domestic. Apparently if you do hear, apologies, excuse me, if you do hear one or two bits of ambient sound or shouting voices, we're very much in the town centre here, which only adds to the atmosphere. Mei Kotaki fully illuminated by the spotlight. I'm just looking up and the last rays of sun are just kissing the summit of Mont Blanc, as is a big cloud that's signalling the start of the bad weather.
Big jump there from Mei. You can see that height difference. You really needed to go for it. Jane Kim almost sort of reached into that, but Mei, more of a leap.
And again, this next move with the left hand, Jane made look very steady. It's looked quite a hard slap from a couple of the first climbers, and Mei choosing to match with the right hand. That looked a desperate way of doing it, and that's an example of just being a smaller climber. She just didn't fancy going from lower down. I think Jane Kim showed that as a smaller climber you can do it, but Mei just didn't fancy it.
Yeah, the research is saying that is a droppable area around there.
Should be relieved to get through that. There's 3 of the 4 climbers we've had out so far. Hannah and Akio for some reason choosing to ignore the deck chairs and sitting on the floor to watch. Got a pretty good view there. They're directly under the wall. That holding area for the climbers is right underneath the top of the wall. Spectacular view. And Mei Kotaki, I thought she was going to take both hands off there. It really would have been brave, but
heel, back hang.
Manufacturing something of a rest, just using that tiny screw on the volcano hold.
She's so good to watch climbing. I love the way she's working out these problems on the wall. Really inventive.
3 minutes to go, so although she found a slightly trickier way of doing one of the key moves earlier on between the black volumes, she hasn't used up much time and she hasn't taken any big rest. She took a pretty creative one on that volcano, and what method will she go for? We see Jane Kim completely ignoring that hold that Mei's got her left foot on. Mei using the method we saw from the 3 climbers before Jane.
Changes style of hold here. It suddenly becomes quite small crimps. Takes a moment to adjust to that. Get those fingers working again. Heartbeat's gotta be coming up here as you near the top of the wall.
So Mei now at this tricky quick draw, which caused problems for Akio and Hannah. And I think it's easy for us to say from down here, but she'd be well advised to clip from here. We saw Akio go past it and not really be able to get back. And again, she's wrestling with it, but she's done well. She's got it clipped. She can get on her way now. She's about to hit the change in angle. You can see it there. See the high point of Jane Kim. That's what she's aiming for. She's got 1 minute and 30 seconds left to get there. Should be plenty of time. She's climbed this route pretty quickly, Mei Kotaki. Jane Kim had about 50 seconds by the time she got to here, and Mei's got 1:24, but she couldn't use it, just seemed to get slightly tangled up. But still, superb effort. That will put her into 3rd place as it stands, and to just get the choreography wrong. She just misses the stage and ends up back on the floor of the Place Mont Blanc itself.
Pretty good looking dance moves there as she hit the ground.
Well, we had last week a slightly amusing moment where Yanya still managed to look cool when she got lowered by the belayer and clobbered the official clock.
I saw that, yeah.
So this was Mei with that jump up with the right hand. Legs fired right out, but as long as you're accurate, it's a pretty good hold, and they've added a screw on to make it even better. So this is where we lost her. She's onto the high friction part of that volume. Like maybe the left foot just popped.
Yeah, I think so. Just as she unweighted it to move forward, I think that just lost that friction she had. A slip rather than a fall, I think, on that.
So Jane Kim currently leading the way. 3 climbers to go, the first of whom is Anak Verhoeven. A week to forget for her in Villars, but she's back in the finals in Chamonix.
Just cleaning her shoes off there with that rag she was holding, making sure everything's perfect. Probably more psychological, just knowing that everything's ready, nothing forgotten, and ready to perform.
Made her debut here in Chamonix in 2012. 6 years later, she aims to win here.
It's hard to see from this angle, but these kind of smile-shaped holds, some of them are good and some aren't so good, so you've really got to move quickly through them, not get pumped out early on trying to hold on to something awful.
She's been on the podium the last 3 years here in Chamonix, Annette Verhoeven, without winning the competition. It is one of the jewels in the IFSC crown. She'd dearly love a win. She's got 5 minutes 30 to show this crowd what she can do. Last rays of light disappearing off the mountains. Temperature really beginning to drop now. It stayed relatively cool down the front of the wall. Interesting enough, earlier on I was chatting to Yanni Garnbret after her semi-final. She said it was hot on the wall. Certainly didn't feel it when you were standing underneath it, but the wall is surrounded by plastic sheeting to keep it dry in the case of rain, and I think it insulates the heat somewhat. I think the heat was actually coming from inside the wall, from what Yanni was saying, but conditions now very good. It cools down quickly here.
Yeah, it was a bit muggy earlier with the clouds coming in. There was a sort of a hint of rain, but now, as you say, just really fresh.
Yeah, when I got in the car to come to the venue, it was 30 degrees at 6 p.m. Oof. But we're not far off single figures now. Conditions good, and Annette going well. No problems through the crack section. Clip done nice and early. And here, this first tricky move, the first go-y move coming up. Choosing to take a rest. She's got a watch on her harness, I believe. I think I saw her starting it at the start of the route. We'll try and see her from the right-hand side just to confirm, but either way, she'll be measuring the time carefully. No problem with that move up to the right. And now for the one more move out right, and then another tricky move up with the left hand. We saw Meiko Taki matching this volume, which did not look easy, and it looked like she did. She slightly missed the sweet spot of that volume. She was slightly to the left of it, quickly readjusted and got back on track.
Yeah, she's using a little bump of energy there to get her through that.
And the last thing you need when you've had the, albeit a very minor scale like that, it's a bit of an awkward clip, which is what she got. So now she's onto the volume, the volcano, excuse me, finding that tiny screw on top.
Probably a jug for these guys.
There's 4 of the climbers we've had so far. Meiko Taki presumably just behind the wall, about to make her way round to the front, take a seat on the deck chair. Jane Kim leading the way here in Chamonix. If you're just tuning in, Charlie Bosco and Matt Groom here. We're in a packed Place Mont Blanc. We've got Annette Verhoeven looking for a 4th podium and a first gold medal ever in Chamonix. And having to fight now. She's onto the very, very steepest section of an already steep wall and manufactures a nice knee bar. Obviously not particularly comfortable, doesn't hang around, but
someone asked that when we were looking at the route, whether there was a possible knee bar, and the route said, no way, absolutely not. There you can see it. If you believe, it will come.
Yeah, she seemed slightly reluctant to say goodbye to Annette. Now she's on the way again. Now then, what will the method be here? We saw Jane Kim use a completely different method to anyone else, and Annette does likewise.
You can see her looking over, thinking about that swing move, just decided it was easier just to bump straight up into that more slabby section.
Yeah, it's interesting. Annette and Jane, again, completely ignoring what everyone else has been using as a toe hook far over to the left. Looking very precise. I worried slightly when she committed over the lip, but she back to strength, back to training, and it more than paid off, and she finds herself making her way towards the head wall. She's got that powerful shoulder move, make her way through these volumes, and she's on to the lower angle section of the wall. Now keep an eye on the clock. She's got 1:05 left. That is enough time to do the moves, but not by much, and especially with this awkward clip coming up. If Anak wants to top the route, or at least beat Jane Kim's high point, she's going to need to get motoring now. 50 seconds left. Just trying to figure out what the method is here. Slaps out with the right hand, gets to toe hook, will surely clip from here. I think that's what she's setting up for. Yes, it thought about it.
So awkward. She's really kind of caught up underneath herself there.
And again, keep an eye on the clock because she's got 30 seconds left. She needs to get that clipped and then get moving. And I'm slightly concerned she may do what we saw from Akia Noguchi and climb too far away. But no, nicely done. Perhaps not the easiest or most comfortable clip in the world, but with 15 seconds to go, Anak Verhoeven is not going to top this route. She's going to get timed out. She might get a few more moves, but it's not going to be enough to match the high point set by Jane Kim. She's got 5 seconds left. She's onto the head wall. Needs to slap up with the left hand, but she's going to be timed out. That is time for Anak Verhoeven.
Pure grit in her face as she got that hold.
And that is disappointment for Anak. You can see her saying, well, I was okay. But part of the game is measuring your pace. Sadly for Anak, she just lost a bit of time. I think it was mainly around that red, the red feature in the middle of the wall.
Yeah, she sort of had to improvise a rest as she pulled onto that slab, not using the bicycle method the others were, and therefore not finding that moment of a breathe and a shake. I just love watching her climb. The amount of emotion that's going on is fantastic. And you could see that final move, she gave it absolutely everything. So Jane goes off. We're just seeing a replay here, shaken out before the first jump. Oh, so much control, so much strength in that left hand, left arm to hold her in.
And this was where it came to an end. That's such a shame for Anak, because I think she had a bit of juice left. I mean, you can see in her face how hard she's fighting. But she definitely could have gone on. And that was where she intentionally let go, and you see it there saying to the crowd, what can I do? I do understand the frustration. I know, just have a quick recap of the scores before I resume. Jane Kim, Ashima Shirashi and Mei Kotaki would be the podium if Janja Garnbret and Jessie Pilz can't match any of their high points. But yeah, I do understand the frustration that Anak and some people feel with the 6-minute rule. Understand it wasn't universally liked, but as a very clever person once said, sport is just made up games with made up rules. And the rules are the same for everyone. You told them before the season. And as I say, I do understand the frustration when you run out of time, but that is the time limit. You knew it before you set off. She just didn't quite measure her pace right. But totally understand the frustration. A bit of a shame for Anak.
So Janja Garnbret pulling onto the wall here into this crack.
Just so you know, Anak, that puts her down in 4th place. As for now, could end up as low as 6th depending on the performance of Janja and Jessie, but either way she won't continue her run of podiums in Chamonix. It was 3 years in a row. She was looking to make it 4 this time.
So Janja, as you were saying, slightly unfamiliar position of being second last instead of last. Just sort of almost just let go at the end of that semi-final because of the hot wall.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. It wasn't very clear watching it why she'd let go. I mean, I'm sure she knew she'd done enough, but she just said she didn't have a lot of friction. She was quite pumped and the wall was hot. And she fell off, but it looked at the time a slightly strange one. Either way, more than enough to get her through in 2nd place.
So Janja not really resting like the others there, just deciding to push on through. Far right foot flag there to make the clip.
So again, this is where we saw the match from Mei Kotaki, the slap from Janja. Looks slightly perilous, the slap, the foot cut loose, but she has got an extraordinary ability for her feet to be pretty much level with her head and stay on the wall. So I should know better than to say it looks perilous just because her feet came off. You might remember in the Munich Bouldering World Cup last year, no matter how many times I watched a replay of her firing out to the right, I couldn't still couldn't understand how she was on the wall.
Decided to cut loose there. Perhaps a slightly quicker way of doing it rather than keeping all 4 points on.
And as you would expect, looking calm. Time unlikely to be an issue. Didn't especially motor through the very first section, but then she's been quick on the last dozen or so moves, and now she'll head out onto the big red feature.
Taking a slight rest before launching into this sequence. Let's see what method she uses through here. High right foot dropping into the big back volume. She also utilising a knee bar, I think there. It's hard to see from this angle, but she's certainly got some part of her leg holding her in. Out left, and she swings round, uses that bicycle method.
Yes, so she uses the toe hook, where Anak and Jane ignored it. Crowd getting really into this. As we said, they know they're climbing here in Chamonix. Janja Garnbret needs no introduction to the majority of the 10,000 people in the Place Mont Blanc, which, as you can see, is now pretty dark. The beers are flowing, the action amazing, and we've got a climber that even at her young age could be described as a legend on the wall. She's looking to make it a hat-trick of wins here in Chamonix. She's won the last two. She was on the podium in 2015 in her World Cup debut.
Oh, that looks like such an uncomfortable rest from Janja. Her shoulders so far back. It's working for her.
Yeah, we tend to think of flexibility as being in the hips and the hamstrings. That's shoulder flexibility. Put your fingers facing down, rotate your shoulder inwards and push yourself against a 45-degree overhanging wall while simultaneously chalking up with the other hand. Amazing from Janja.
Well, I'll call an ambulance for her there. Tricky clip coming up. You can see her getting that rope on the right-hand side of her body, ready for the clip.
This is a different method again. Clips very early and very smoothly. Really nicely done from Janja. These are pretty physical moves she's entering now. Definitely don't want to waste any energy trying to find a position to clip from.
1 minute 30 on the clock, a lot of time left to do this.
And there we could see Mont Blanc disappearing into the darkness and the cloud behind her. Janja Garnbret with 1:20 left to go. She's got more than enough time to top this route. She's provided us with so many spectacular moments in the last 3 years since her debut here in 2015. Is she about to add another one to the list? She slaps out with the right hand. Now Jane Kim was getting really tight for time at this stage. Janja has got a minute left. She could afford to rest if she can find a way of doing so, and she can. She chalks up with the right hand. The crowd are getting into it now. The spotlight illuminates her. As Mont Blanc recedes, Janja Garnbret comes to the fore. Again she chalks up. Needs to rock over here. This is the move where we lost Jane Kim. Jane got her knee high and tried to come over the top of it, and it just didn't quite work. Didn't have time to mantle it properly. What can Janja do? She sets herself. The crowd really going crazy now. They've been quiet this evening. They're not quiet anymore. That's enough for the win. Janja Garnbret, not the win, excuse me, for the high point. She doesn't quite get the top, and she thumps the wall. Not the most sympathetic of belays. Got slightly carried away there. We used to see Janja come out last. I was saying the win. We still got Jessie Pills to come.
It looked like she just dropped that top high. I thought she was in there. It was a big old jug up there. Somehow managed just to peel off it at the last moment. Tell you what, it shows that you need that time up there. I mean, that was a good 30 seconds you spent working out that top sequence. It's not that straightforward.
Looks pretty happy with that one, but yeah, when she got the high point, you would have bet your mortgage on it getting the top, but just seemed to get slightly jumbled in the top section. We will find a replay for you. Let's say apologies there, getting carried away for the win.
I was enjoying it. You swept me away.
There's a song in there somewhere. So this was lower down. Mentioned it earlier, just because the feet cut loose doesn't mean there's any problem for Janja. So here's where it ended. Slapped up. Oh, she's just left. There's a little tick mark on that hold. If she'd gone a bit further right, I think she might have made it, but if she'd gone a bit further right, I don't think she could have kept her feet on. So she sets a high point, and Jessie Pilz comes out calm as you like, with the chance to win a World Cup for the first time in her career in Chamonix. What a place it would be to do it.
I mean, talk about pressure for her here. She's been backstage, she can hear the crowd, she knows how long the athletes have been on the wall, she knows she's got to put in a performance, and she's last out. I mean, it's a massive ask.
One thing for Jessie though, she might not know whether the route's been topped or not. There we just see the confirmation of the scores, 50 plus. But because she climbs last, because she was top in the semi-final, she knows that it doesn't matter what anyone else has done. She'll have been trying to interpret the crowd noises from behind the wall, but it doesn't matter. If she tops the route, even if Janja topped it, even if anyone else in the semi-final topped it, Jessie would win the competition. So the task far from easy, but it is at least straightforward to understand. The top wins it.
Quick start from Jessie here, getting on with it. You can feel the crowd. I mean, we're back here away from them, and I can feel the waves of excitement coming at us.
You can also hear them go quiet with tension when the next climber starts. It's, you get a lot of feedback from the crowd here in Chamonix. They've come to life in the last 20 minutes or so. Here is Jessie, her 6th year competing in the World Cups. And she's had a steady upward curve of progress throughout that time. Can she get a win in the most famous of climbing venues? World Championship in Innsbruck. As of recently, her hometown, moved there to train. She'll have a chance for a big win there, but my oh my, how she'd love to go there with a World Cup winners medal already in the bag. We can see the climbers all discussing the route there. Janja Garnbret hasn't made her way around to the front of the stage just yet. She'll have a bit of a nervous wait. She's not used to that. She's used to having her fate in her own hands. She's got to watch Jessie, see what she can do. Slaps to the left hand again. Fired out to the right slightly.
To me, Jessie looking slightly nervous in these first couple of moves. She's in control, but you just get that feeling that she needs to settle herself down. Have a quick breath, calm that heartbeat. Thumping music in the background. So here she is, just a moment, hanging there. Not easy to do with 10,000 people watching you.
Does add an element to it. Feel the you feel the pressure of that crowd. A few of the climbers in the bouldering have mentioned it now that we've got the split finals. You really notice the crowd more because you're the only person on the stage. Jessie Pilz in about as dramatic a position as it's possible to be in an IFSC World Cup. She's come out last in the final in Chamonix in front of 10,000 people, and if she tops the route, she'll win her first World Cup. She's got plenty of time. She's come through that section quickly. How much juice is left? That's a physical move. The last thing you want to see at that stage, but she somehow chalks up in what looked an extremely uncomfortable lock-off on the left hand, and now she finds a slightly better position to chalk her left hand. Swings out to the left, crosses through with the right. She uses it as a heel hook, so again, slightly different method from what we've seen.
It's sort of a combination of all the methods there. That's some flexibility.
Incredible flexibility from Jessie Pilz and well-measured climbing. She's got 2:25 left on the clock. Still some time-consuming moves coming up, but that should be enough.
I was concerned there if she would struggle unlocking that right heel hook and bringing her weight through, but no problems from Jessie.
Second, 6 days ago in Villars. Can she go one better here in Chamonix? In just over 2 minutes' time, we will have an answer. As it is, Janja Garnbret is leading the way. Unusually for Janja Garnbret, she's having to watch as someone may take the win away. And there you can see the setting, the clouds coming in here in Chamonix. We've got the last good day of weather here. That cloud signals bad weather ahead. No worries for tonight though. We've got an incredible venue, 16 amazing climbers, and Jessie Pilz providing us with a very dramatic finish. 1:30 left on the clock now.
No worries again for her with that clip. Similar method to Janja, just stretching out right.
And again, choosing to chalk up. I think you need to get onto the head wall with about a minute left to not be rushing too much, which I think is pretty much when Jessie's going to get there. She's got 1:10. So she hasn't got all the time in the world on the clock, or you suspect in her forearms, but she has got time to top the route. And she'll have to, if she wants to win, she'll have to at least match Janja's attempt of slapping the top hold. Crowd really getting into this now. You could see that Janja Garnbret was so close to the top, she had one hand on it. Jessie Pilz choosing to rest. The tension, incredible. Matt Groom alongside me, shifting around, trying to get rid of his own nerves. Imagine how the Austrian team are feeling. Jessie Pilz, she stretches out to the right. 25 seconds to go. She's got time to do this, Jessie. Moves under that left hand. Gets the rock overdone. Everyone heart rate absolutely sky high in the venue. 10,000 people in Chamonix going absolutely crazy. Jessie Pilz for the win. She's got it. Just needs to clip the quick draw. And she has won here in Chamonix. Jessie Pilz, a gold medalist, a World Cup winner in the most legendary of venues. And 10,000 people, including the two in the commentary box, are standing here in disbelief.
I'm standing here grinning from ear to ear. That was an incredible finish, and you can see that calm exterior completely shattered, gone as she hits the ground. It means so, so much to her. Tears in her eyes. Incredible. Yeah, her timing was absolutely perfect there. She had enough time to work out through that top sequence. And while Janja looked rushed in those last 15 seconds, Jessie seemed to have all the time in the world, stretching up to that final jug, and that clipping moment, and you can see the crowd goes absolutely crazy.
That's what it means to win a World Cup. Janja, the first to congratulate her, and you can see there that's not just a sportsman-like handshake, that is a meant hug.
Yeah,
that is warm, heartfelt congratulations, and very, very well deserved.
That's great. I mean, everyone knows how much that means to her. They know how long she's been working for this, and that's just great to see. Janja's smile as well, huge.
And there we see the top three presented. Janja Garnbret was so close to having done enough, but as it turned out, even the top wouldn't have been enough. Jessie would have passed her on count back to the previous round. Jessie has just been in a league of her own today. We watched her in the semi-final. She was the best climber in the semi. She's been the best climber in the final. The route setters got their choreography absolutely spot on. Last climber out, tops the route, wins the competition.
That's perfect. I don't know about them. My heart is going absolutely crazy back here.
And there you see it. Can't get better than that. Only climber to top the route. She wins. Janja Garnbret is second. Jane Kim is third. Ashima just misses out on the World Cup podium. Meikataki Anak van Hoven, who ends her streak of podiums in Chamonix, is sixth. Akio Noguchi is seventh. And Hannah Schubert ends up in eighth, tied on score with Akio Noguchi. But in eighth, down to count back.
All the athletes talking through that. Well, a section of the route, can't quite work out which bit that is, but.
And that was quite a long women's final. I mean, we were expecting to see the men's presentation at 9:30. It's 9:45. Where did that time go? We were slightly late starting, but still, it was all the climbers getting high up. Nobody struggling too much on the lower section. And Matt, we're going to say goodbye to you very temporarily. Got a very special guest. Thank you very much for your company, and I'll see you in 10 minutes' time.
I'll see you in a minute, Charlie.
Milk and 2 sugars in the coffee. Yeah, we're going to be joined very shortly by Jessie Pilz, See there the Glacier des Bossons and the Dôme de Goutte disappearing. I mentioned it earlier, it's the last good day of weather here in Chamonix. Always seems to be the way that we hit the bad weather here in Chamonix. It's not common to have storms and rain, but we do always seem to hit it. No such worries this time. We've had perfect weather from start to finish for every round of both the Speed and Lead World Cups. And that is the sound of a high five given to very special guest. Just getting Jesse's headset organised. Jesse, welcome and congratulations. You are a World Cup winner.
Thank you.
And amazing to watch you. You've been close to wins before. We've seen you on podiums. You never had the win. What was the difference this weekend? You were the best climber in the semi-final, best climber in the final. What was the difference this weekend?
I don't know, I'm a little bit ill because in Villa it was really cold, and yeah, so I had no brush in semis, and yeah, I was so nervous before the finals then. But yeah, I just wanted to top because then I knew I had won, yeah.
Well, let's we can actually watch a replay of your route. If you could talk us through it, that'd be great. So you say you were nervous when you came out.
Yeah, I was really nervous.
Did you think Janja had topped the route? Could you tell from the crowd reaction?
No, I hear that she didn't top.
You heard the MC, the guy talking to the crowd.
No, but you hear the reaction from the crowd that there was no top, like she was falling. You can hear that, yeah.
So talk us through this lower section. When did the nerves begin to disappear?
I think at the volcano in the middle of the route. The start was a little bit tricky, I wasn't sure, but the holds were better than I expected. And yeah, I was really nervous in the beginning, and then I started to enjoy.
And what was this section like? None of the climbers seemed to struggle too much. It seemed like it was quite straightforward.
Yeah, we were all really confused at the observation because we didn't know which hole take first and with which hand we should go first. But then I think there were many ways to do it. But yeah, it was not so hard.
This next move up, this was kind of the first quite committing move. You really had to go.
Yeah, but the hole was really good, the next one, this one.
Yeah.
So normally I struggle with jumps like this, but if the holes are good, I just go for it.
It's a perfect way to do it. You were really accurate. And also, during the route, your timing was perfect.
Yeah, I think there was 7 seconds left, I saw on the clock.
Yeah.
I think something like this.
Did you have a watch? Did you climb?
No,
okay.
no. I had no time to check the watch on the floor.
And then this section, there's another tricky move here. This left
hand.
Yeah,
I almost missed the next one here, yeah. This was close.
And you were saying...
But it was a good hold, so...
You were saying at this volcano you began to calm down slightly,
yeah.
Felt a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, I definitely tried then.
And were you really conscious? Were you really conscious of the time? We're just going to fast forward through a bit of this middle section, but were you really aware of the time?
No.
Because your time,
not at all.
Really, it was perfect.
I realized that all climbers climbed pretty long on the wall, so they all climbed higher, I think, but I don't know. But yeah, I thought so.
And this section here, you look really solid. The nerves were gone now.
Yeah, but I almost thought I'm doing it wrong.
How do you mean? Which move did you think you'd done wrong?
I first checked the hole from the black volume, and then yeah, I wasn't sure if I should go left or right. Then I think it was the right way.
And this is you coming onto the top section. You had about 1 minute 10 at this time.
Yeah, here I got already pumped.
Okay, because we can see that on this angle.
This one was not so good, yeah, the small one.
But you look very calm. You look
relaxed.
Yeah,
when you get higher, it gets better, the hold. Also, the next one was better than I thought. This one, yeah.
And this section, the route setters were saying you have to climb quite quickly. Is that how you found it? It seemed like you were able to rest quite a bit.
Yeah, it was. There were good footholds and good hooks like this one, and then.
And what's the feeling like now? Is the adrenaline starting, or were you just concentrating?
both. I knew that this was a section where I shouldn't make any mistakes, otherwise I fall.
It seemed like that was the last move where you were really finding it difficult.
Yeah.
And now when
then here it was more or less over because I was sitting on the volume.
And at this stage you knew you could do it.
And this was also a static move. I thought it's dynamic from the observation, but yeah, I was so happy when I hold. Yeah.
And that's what it feels like to be a World Cup winner. Can you tell us what this was like? It seemed as if you were just overwhelmed by emotion.
Yeah, it was so crazy. It's so nice to climb the finals top. Yeah.
Okay, well Jessie, congratulations.
Thanks so much.
You've had to wait a while, 10 podiums, but the 11th one, you will be on the top.
Yeah, it's
congratulations,
so nice.
fantastic
so
climb, a fantastic weekend.
Thanks.
That was Jessie Pilz. And I said earlier we were expecting the men's presentation and observation to be at 9:30. We're running slightly behind time. It was a slightly longer than expected women's final. What a final it was though. Men's presentation now underway, and Matt Groom replacing Jessie Pilz in the commentary box.
Couldn't find your coffee, Charlie, sorry. Just not good into it, really,
Matt Groom make his last appearance on the live stream. So here are the first 6 of the 8 male finalists. Shooter Tanaka has already been introduced to the crowd. Ditto Taisei Homer, Will Bosi, Domen Skofic, Sascha Lehmann, and the man who just came on, Stefano Ghisolfi. Domen Skofic looking pretty lost in concentration. Getting a big introduction from the MC. Here's Alex Megos.
I said it before in the semi-finals, he climbs better when he's having a good time. And as you can see there, he's smiling, he looks relaxed, he looks chilled out. Just enjoying the moment.
So, last climber out. Ranked highest in the semi-final. Won 6 days ago in Villars. Is Jakob Schubert on for another big season? He just keeps bringing them. Quite open about the fact that he'd like a few more gold medals. He'd like some overall World Cup wins. He'd like a World Championship gold medal. And when Jakob Schubert's strong, in form and greedy, watch out world.
Well, he's about to enter a thug fest of a route. This thing is simplistic but brutal, I think you could say. Stretching to the left and then coming back right underneath that red volume.
Yeah, there is the men's route on the left. We've just seen the women's route on the right with Jessie Pilz.
I should say the second she finished talking to you, she ran about as fast as she could back into the athlete area. And then the amount of noise going on there, it's a celebration has kicked off. It's brilliant to see.
Yeah, we're very lucky in the climbing media to have such access to the athletes. I mean, Jessie Pilz was still out of breath. She was still kind of massaging her forearms while she was talking to me. But we get access to them straight off the wall, and it's absolutely fantastic. Long may it continue, and we do appreciate the athletes doing it, because I'm well aware that coming on here and speaking your second language is absolutely the last thing you want to do. You want to chug a beer, fire a champagne cork, get on with a good evening in Chamonix.
Chug a beer and fire a champagne cork.
Oh, just do it all.
Yeah. Big night.
But yeah, so we always appreciate the athletes coming in. It's great access we have to them. There's not many sports you can do that. So here is the men's route. Matt called, was it thuggishly beautiful, was your phrase?
Simplistically thug, something like that. I don't really know. I'm still a little bit of a high from that. Jess's win just then. But yeah, it's a simpler route than the men's semi-final that was tricky to read for them. I think this is going to be more obvious, but just a case of how long can you hold on for.
Yeah, interestingly enough, in the past couple of years since the Olympic announcement, we've seen climbers trying other disciplines more and more, but looking down the list, it is pretty much a lead climbers final here. I mean, Jakob Schubert, not to put down 2 Boulder World Cup wins, but we have seen him more in lead climbing competitions.
Et puis ton chouchou, parce que
Alex Megos, of course, better known for his lead climbing. First man to climb to on-site 9A outdoors, and second man to climb 9B plus outdoors.
And we mentioned Will Bosey earlier. This is his first final, so all this is going to be new to him. Of course, that nice community we see in climbing, they're going to welcome him in, and you can see he's chatting there. I love watching this air climbing moment. It's one of those things that if you're not a climber, it's really hard to understand. But if you ever climbed anything, you look up at a wall, you just do those movements automatically. It's the same with these guys. It doesn't matter if you're world class or me down the wall. You're going to be doing air climbing when you're trying to read that route, work out where to go.
And always interesting when we get the climbers in, like we just did with Jessie. And she was saying, that's not how I read it from the ground. And you often hear that. That's not how I read it this way, I read it that way. And it's always interesting that their route reading is incredibly effective, but there's nothing quite like being on it. But that's why on-site climbing is so revered, and that's why that first 9A on-site from Alex Megos is such a famous climbing achievement, because when you've never been there, you've never felt the holes, you've never tried the moves, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, and there is a section in the bottom half of this men's route that is quite difficult to read. The blue holes seem to just run out and you just get some red underclingy volumes. It's not obvious, so I would imagine that might be a bit of a sticking point, or a moment now where they're trying to work out where to go through that. So although thuggy, it does require a little bit of thinking.
Just to let you know, we have no ties coming into the final on the men's side of things. There was a tie between Domen Skofic and Will Bosey in the semi-final, but they are separated by the qualifying performance. So it'll come down to count back. No one's going to win on time, although as we saw from Anna Verhoeven, you do need to keep a very close eye on the time. But that's not what we're going to separate the climbers for. It will be their performance on the wall, not how quickly they climb it, which always seems like the right way to decide a league climbing competition.
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got to have that limit, otherwise just hang on forever, wouldn't you? Sit in that crack bit and have a little rest.
Well, yeah, people I'm sure will remember the very early days of climbing, the elder IFSC viewers, the more senior IFSC viewers, the 18-minute days, down to 6 now. Should be enough time for this men's route. To be honest, looking at the hole, to be pretty impressive. Anyone can hang on to them for 6 minutes. If you want to know what it's like climbing this men's route, go down the local wall, find a hole you can just about hang on to, set a timer for 6 minutes, and away you go.
Do a few pull-ups in between.
Yeah, good luck. It's a brutal route. Shooter Tanaka will be the first to climb it. He'll be followed out by Taisei, Homer, Will Bosey, Domen Skofic, Sascha Lehmann, Stefano Ghisolfi, Alex Megos and Jakob Schubert will climb last. He'll have the chance for the win, could make it 2 in a row. And like Jesse Piltz, his compatriot and friend, it's in his hands. If he tops the route, he'll win the competition regardless of what anyone else does. You might remember last year in Chamonix we had a lot of tops when Marcello Bombardi won. Jakob's fate very much in his own hands, and that's the route they'll be climbing. It's on the left-hand side of this Chamonix wall. The town now completely in darkness. Temperature dropped during the women's final. Seems to have plateaued somewhat. For the first time since we've been here, there are clouds in the sky, perhaps keeping things a bit warmer. Last week in Villars, the temperature absolutely plummeted. Suddenly everyone wearing down jackets. It's not gone that cold here in Chamonix. It's chilly, but just about comfortable.
Yeah, and those lights on stage as well is going to keep it a little bit warmer for them.
Overall, pretty good conditions, I think, though. I don't think anyone will be able to blame heat should they fall off, even though it's not quite as cool as Villars last time out. And I believe we're just about ready to get going. We can't see the Chamonix crowd anymore.
It's packed, trust me. I had a little look while you were talking to Jesse, and there's so many people out there.
Yeah, when we saw a shot of the crowd earlier, and it looked like there was loads of space around a tree, and then I realised that's the tree on the other side of the road, in the other square.
There's a hotel at the end of the square, actually. Whoever's got that room tonight, they're not getting any sleep, but they've got a heck of a view of the wall.
Final preparations being made. The venue MC doing his thing, getting the crowd fired up. They've just seen a fabulous women's final with the neutrals dream finish, which is the last climber topping the route being the only climber to top it and winning the competition. So the route setters wrote a Hollywood blockbuster for the women. What can they deliver for the men? In a few minutes we will find out. 6 minutes per climber. We've got 8 climbers, 2 Japanese, an Austrian, a German, an Italian, a Swiss, a Slovenian and a British climber.
It's a nice mix of experienced and complete newbies in this final.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how these two Japanese climbers get on. I mean, we say it about so many of their compatriots, vastly talented. The hard bit really when you study in Team Japan is figuring out which one of them is going to be the new Tomoe Narasaki, the new Kokoro Fuji, because right now you could name a dozen young Japanese climbers who are capable of making that leap.
They seem to settle into it really easily in that first final in Vila, and now first World Cup in Vila, and now into a final already. It doesn't take long to get settled and get ready for it, and it's incredibly impressive.
Shuta Tanaka, the first climber out, the 18-year-old, he won the Youth A lead in Innsbruck in the Youth World Championships in September last year, which you might remember. We were not blessed with such good weather that week in Innsbruck. It was umbrellas and waterproofs all round. Shuta Tanaka came out on top. This is his first final though and his second ever World Cup. Finished 12th in Vila 6 days ago.
So the tension building here as we wait for the athletes to come out, that spotlight hovering on the athletes' backstage area.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the delay is. Apologies. We were told the athletes were ready to roll. They came out pretty quickly for presentation. The music's just died. I suspect that's a good sign. I suspect we're about to see Shuta Tanaka appear in his first final, and given how he climbed in the semi-final, I don't think it'll be his last. Crowd getting fired up now. They're ready to see another final. The light show starts. Dramatic stuff here in Chamonix, the second of 4 lead World Cups in the space of 4 weeks. Next week we're off to Briançon. The week after we're off to Arco. The legendary venues just keep on coming, but none of them trump this place.
Yeah, for pure aesthetic brilliance, I mean, you can't beat being underneath Mont Blanc like that. And you see it, the build-up to this is fantastic, because the wall gets put up quite a few days before this competition, and the atmosphere starts to build so very early on. It's just an amazing feeling in town, or wherever you go, people are talking about the event, and you see the athletes wandering around, you're having a coffee, and Domin Scofield walks past. It's pretty special.
Out comes Shuta Tanaka. Yeah, just give us an insight. You live here in Chamonix. When did the wall start going up?
Very early on in the week, so you see it start to sort of dominate this square, and then the stalls come up, so it's a gradual build up to it, but it's a nice lead up. And then watching your live stream in Vila, you know that at some point all the athletes are going to be coming over the hill into Chamonix.
Yeah, the short journey over the Col de Monte. Speaking of short journeys, Shuta Tanaka did not hang around at the bottom of the wall. That was definitely not pushing his luck on individual observation.
Yeah, racing off to the start here. And then into these, what we were told is a pretty straightforward section. Just got to keep moving through it. Not as slopey as they look, they've got a little bit of an edge on them. Nice confident climbing early on. So he's got a big move out left here, just setting himself up for it.
Yeah, a bit like with the women that slap up to the blue hold. That really the first one that requires you to go, particularly that slap to the top. And it's a pretty thin section heading out up and right here across the wall. Red volumes, blue screw-ons.
Yeah, this is where the power starts on this route. That pinch is not very good, and you've really got to give it everything just to stay on the wall here. And it doesn't get easier from here on, just the power keeps on coming, power move after power move.
Shuta Tanaka, 18 years old. First final, second World Cup. Spotlight is on him.
And this is the section I was talking about where the blue holds run out. He's read it well though.
Yeah, from below, this looks like one of the crux sections. Those 3 red triangular volumes all sandwiched together, and it isn't very obvious from below where you can actually grab them, but it is on that right-hand side. You can see there's just a hold formed by the way they've positioned the volumes.
Figure is shaking out there, really trying to shake out that lactic acid.
So he pops up with the right hand. The left joins it. Cruising so far, Shooter Tanaka. We saw him shaking out earlier on, but it was the only sign betraying the fact that it's requiring much effort. We said it was a brutal route. It's what the route setters think, but Shooter Tanaka's having absolutely no problem with it. I think it's one of those where the tiredness and the pump will kick in quite quickly. We can see him beginning to shake out now. Always an anxious moment for the route setters. First climber on their route. Have they got their calculations right? Have they got their sums right? Have they got their estimations right?
It's funny for me, never being this involved in an IFSC competition, I didn't realise how much effort and thought goes into all these routes and how every move is, as you say, calculated.
Oh, you chat to the route setters, I was chatting to some of the route setters in Villard, and they're saying they're thinking of, I'll resume in just a second, because Shooter Tanaka's going through a few committing moves here. Also worth bearing in mind his time. He's got 2 minutes 45 left on the clock, less than half his time, and he looks like he's really beginning to fight, shaking out at every opportunity.
These are very, very smooth holds, a tiny little screw on top of them, just enough to hold on to. There's not a lot to go on.
These 2 baguettes that he's moving on to now, appropriately enough for where we are in the world. He leaps out right, really beginning to have to fight now, but it seems like he might have got a bit of energy back on these relatively good holds. And there we go. How's that for 18 years old and geeing up 10,000 people in Chamonix? Shooter Tanaka, no lack of confidence. If there are any nerves, I can't tell.
There is that shake, kind of also a geeing up moment for the crowd then. And they're really behind him. They want him to succeed in this.
He doesn't want to be climbing in silence. He wants a full Chamonix experience. He wants to hear that roar.
1 minute 35 on the clock.
Again, shaking out. I think the crowd think that's for them, but I think it's actually for the pump. Either way, it's getting them fired up. Now he gives the right hand a quick shake out. 1 minute 20 left for him to find the way. He's nearing the change of angle here, and things will ease off slightly in terms of angle, but not difficulty. These are reasonable holds he's on now, though. I think the route setters might be wondering if they've undercooked this. We'll soon find out when he gets onto this head wall.
Time could be a factor, less than a minute now.
Shooter Tanaka definitely looked more tired 10 moves ago than he does now. But as you say, Matt, 50 seconds to go, time will become a big factor. Shaking out at every opportunity. I think if he does glance down at the clock, he might get a bit of a fright. Now he commits onto the head wall. There's nothing there for the right hand. Slaps up, crosses through with the left. Got to get that quick draw clipped. Instead, he chooses to go on, and we lose Shooter Tanaka after a superb effort in his first ever World Cup final. We enjoyed that. So did the Chamonix crowd, and he lowers to the ground with 40 seconds left on the clock and everything left on the wall.
That second to last move before he fell then, I thought he was going off. I have no idea how he held that. And that camera angle was a lovely close shot of his fingers just sticking the tiny little crimp in there. What an effort. No superfluous moves there for him, just simple cruising climbing.
I said earlier, Matt, looking through his thesaurus, looking for adjectives to describe Yanni Gamba.
It's a good one, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah, that old chestnut. So Shooter Tanaka I mean, it's hard to imagine walking out in that situation in front of this crowd here. But he didn't only look calm, he looked like he had enough energy for all 10,000 of it. It was amazing.
Yeah, he was really enjoying it. Youngest competitor in the final as well.
Born in the year 2000.
It's depressing. Do you not find that depressing? Anyway, so I'll just keep my own personal issues to myself there. But
so Taisei Homer is onto the stage. If he puts on half the show we saw from Shooter Tanaka, really will be impressed. You might remember him from a couple of years ago in Guangzhou Youth World Championship in 2016. Took 10th place there, slightly hesitant on these lower moves in Chamonix, in his second World Cup first final.
yeah, coming to that move. I mean, I said it was a big move, but actually, in reality, wasn't quite as big as it looks from down there. No, he makes it look super simple. I think it's just all about climbing that first section without getting too pumped, without using up all your energy, because boy, is there a fight to come on this route.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see now how the more experienced World Cup climbers do. Was Shooter Tanaka putting in a World Cup winning performance in his second ever World Cup? Have the route setters slightly overestimated the difficulty? Or are we going to see a lot of climbers falling at the same point as him? Is that clearly the crux?
Yeah, he seemed to have so much energy coming through. I mean, that shakeout method as well. He was using every last rest on that wall.
Not the most comfortable of clips there. Reaching over the arm you're hanging on never feels especially comfortable. Taisei Homer gets it done, and he's on his way through the volumes, coming right towards our camera, as close as you're going to get.
I always find it impressive when you watch climbing of this level, the amount of weight that goes through the climber's feet, and you can see there, I mean, there's a lot on their feet. People talk about footwork a lot, and you kind of think, yeah, but you know, if I was just a bit stronger, I could just pull through. But that is an example of why it helps to have good technique.
Yeah, we saw some moves, particularly in the women's semi-final, where if your feet cut loose, that was it. Didn't matter how strong you were. Taisei using his to good effect so far. Charlie Bosco and Matt Groom live from the Place Mont Blanc in Chamonix. Hashtag IFSC WC on Twitter if you want to get in touch. Regardless, sit back and enjoy the action. And that looked in the balance for Taisei.
Yeah, that blue undercling on the left, there isn't a lot on it, so that bump is a very, very powerful move. And you could see he almost hesitated before making it, just managed to make it stick.
And again, now he's on to decent holds. He looks like he's recovering a bit of strength, exactly what we saw with Shooter Tanaka.
Yeah, this is the rest, obviously. But the next hold, as you were saying, is good as well. That undercling, it's a nice big chunky hold.
Choosing to shake out the crowd responding to Shooter Tanaka. They're taking it as their cue to make some noise. You see the high point of Shooter marked there. Now he launches into the very last bit of the steep section of the wall here in Chamonix. Gets the clip done. Beginning to look slightly tired, but this is a superb effort. Could he match, could he even better the high point of Shooter Tanaka? Second climber out, second Japanese climber out in the final.
So this is the move I was, oh, he's just slipped going up to that. He looked in control, actually. I thought he was going to go a little bit further. He comes down, but what a first final for him. I'm just amazed at the composure of these guys. I would feel, well, frankly, queasy if I had to come out in front of an audience this big and perform in your very first final on a route like this.
I know, it's incredible. I'd be curious to speak to the two Japanese climbers after and just see how they felt. 'Cause if they were nervous, you wouldn't have known.
It's a shame. You can see he went up for that crimp on the left and just didn't have enough to hold on to it.
And there we see it, 43 plus for Shooter Tanaka. It looked like Taisei might actually match him. We lost him 3 moves before. 40 plus for him. There is Shooter Tanaka, won himself a legion of fans here. He's stuck into a protein bar, at least I hope it's a protein bar.
Looked like a lion bar to me, it wasn't, but hopefully there's a bit of chocolate for him. It's got to have a bit of downtime. So Will Bosey, I know Will for a couple of years now, and I'm very, very pleased for him to be here. He's worked so hard to get to this position. British team all watching from the audience.
Big shout of "Come on, Will!" just came through my headset. I don't know if you heard it at home. One of our microphones picked it up. The youngest Brit to climb 9A now appears in his first World Cup final. Pretty handy on a speed wall as well, Will. Most certainly a climber well worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, he set the British record the other day on the speed wall, so he's working hard for that with an eye on Olympic future, I'm sure.
Hails from Edinburgh, Scotland, where we had a World Cup last September at the huge Ratho venue.
So deciding to go for the intermediate hold rather than bumping all the way up on top of that blue.
Put on a great show in the semi-final, Will. He turned to face the crowd and stuck his tongue out, blew a raspberry. Brilliant.
I wonder if that moment whether he knew he'd done enough or he thought, you know, well, I've lost it now, so I might as well say hello to the crowd.
Well, it was pretty touch and go, so I'd be very, very impressed by his understanding of where everyone else had fallen. I think it was just an impulsive thing. It looked brilliant, though.
Yeah. A very technical climber, Will. Good at reading routes.
So they're just, we're beginning to learn this men's route slightly. There's those 3 red volumes all clamped together. And the way they are clamped together does provide something of a hold. It's barely visible from below. Barely exists when you get there, but it's big enough for climbers of this caliber.
Will climbing quite quickly here. I wonder if he's getting pumped.
He's been on the wall 140, which might not sound a long time, but at this angle on these holds, it will feel an awful long time. You could just see there his face betraying that there's a lot of effort going into this. Decides to clip early so he can motor through this section. We saw from the 2 Japanese climbers earlier on that there is something of an easing off for a few moves. You get to those 2 baguette-shaped holes just appearing on the top right of the screen. It does just begin to ease off a bit. You can get something back.
This is the second bump that is tricky. Oh, so close to dropping that, but he manages to hold on.
Now, coping with the move out right and you keeping your feet on here or using your feet wisely, one of the real tricks to this move, and that's brilliant work from Will, but at some point he's going to have to commit to moving out right. Full commitment, full effort, held an extraordinarily powerful cross position there.
Almost looks in slow motion there. I thought the camera had suddenly kicked in.
And again he turns to look at the crowd. He's hoping there's another opportunity to face out. We haven't seen one yet. If he can manufacture one on the top crimps, I really will be impressed.
So let's hope he can recover something here. He looked a little bit flustered lower down on the route, but seems very composed now. Not a long time resting, but he sets off.
Yeah, now he's motoring. 2 minutes 40 left on the clock. Climb the lower section quickly, as you said. He's arriving at the head wall, believe it or not, with just under half his time remaining. Again, can just about chalk up, but he finds the energy and the time to wave to the crowd, encourages them to get involved. He wants a bit of help on this route. And from what we've seen, He'll need it. It is brutally tough on that top section. Will Bosey still going strong. He's got 2 minutes 15. He's beginning to breathe hard. You just saw him puff his cheeks then, betraying exactly how much effort's going in. Really fighting now. That left hand lands. Now the right hand. He's at the top of the volume. Can he get up to that next red volume? He'll be in the lead. How long it will last, we shall see. Could well be enough, you never know. But either way, Will Bosey, brilliant performance, entertaining, determined, dogged, technically brilliant at times. Fantastic work from him.
The confidence that he's going to get from this final is going to be massive for him. And we've seen this with other British team members before. When they get to the bigger stage, it's suddenly like a wake-up call, like, oh, I can do this. And you see them just fly from now on. So hoping we'll see some more finals from Will in the future.
That was an incredible move, just about held it together. So this is when he got to the top of that triangular volume. He's heading for the, I think it's a 5-sided volume above octagon, I believe.
Oh, I told you I failed GCSE maths. I have no idea.
Someone will let us know, I'm sure, on social media. There you can see Crown Chamonix. No one's gone home, and rightly so. A lot of good climbing still to come. Will Bosey leading the way as it stands. 43 plus leading on count back to previous rounds. So we've had 3 climbers out, all of whom have been in their first World Cup final. Couldn't say that about this man, Domen Skofic. Vastly experienced. Entered his first World Cup in 2010. First win came 5 years later in Perth in Belgium. In 2016 he won the overall title.
Yeah, a good start to the season with that 4th place in Villars. I'm sure he was slightly disappointed. He knows he's capable of topping podiums. So hopefully we're going to see him go from strength to strength as the season progresses here.
Previous winner in Chamonix 2016, that season when he won the overall, he also won here. His girlfriend Janja Garnbret so close to winning in the women's competition. Second to a rampant Jessie Pilz. What's Domen got on the men's side of things?
So it was interesting, we were told that pinch was a powerful move, but every athlete's made it look simple, really, so far.
It would seem from the 3 climbers we've seen already that getting to that head wall with something left is going to be the key. The moves are certainly doable for climbers at this level, but they're so tiring, and if you arrive really struggling, really pumped, it's going to be impossible to get them done. So it's about getting there with maximum efficiency, taking sensible rests when the opportunity's there, and just getting up to that head wall with something left in the tank.
Yeah, it's so hard to crimp if you're that pumped. It's almost impossible. Your fingers just don't work anymore. I think we've seen that with the last couple of guys. When they fell, it's, you know, the will is there, but fingers just uncurl. So Domen just taking a moment here. As we've mentioned, very experienced climber. This next section does require a bit of grunt because of that bad left undercling, and you have to bump the right hand.
So Domen not going at the same speed as Will Bosey. Will that be detrimental? Will it be beneficial? We'll see when he gets onto that head wall. If he gets to the head wall, these moves are no gimme. You've seen all 3 climbers negotiate them. No pushover.
Interesting. Comes through with the left, matches. We haven't seen that before, and then left again.
Yeah, this is a bit of a different angle on moves that should be coming from India now. There's the 2 baguettes. We've been looking at it from the other side of the wall for the previous 3 climbers. It does look slightly different, but that's where he is. That was the move Bosey put on an amazing show. Domen looking slightly more comfortable. Looked like he had a tiny bit more to spare.
The rest looks less good from here, doesn't it? It looks like quite a chunky chunky jug, sorry, from the other angle. It's a hard one to say.
So 2.5 minutes left for Domen. I don't think he should be too pushed for time as long as he keeps up a good pace. Doesn't seem too interested in firing the crowd up, just wants to focus on his job. Take a long rest here. I think the tactic could well just be motor from here on out. Although there is the opportunity for another rest at that last hole that just crept into the shot there. That's what it looks like from the top of the wall. Take a very long rest. Been here about 30 seconds now, Domen. Now he goes. Crowd respond.
Yeah, climbing quickly now, knowing he's got to push on.
So this next blue hold, if he can get to it, is perhaps another opportunity for a chalk up that he decides to take. 1 minute 35 left on the clock. The top moves, there's not that many of them relative to what's come, but they're quite time consuming. Body position key, easy to be spat off any of them, even if you were fresh.
So here's a nasty right hand crimp.
So Domen takes the lead. Every move he makes now is setting that high point further and further away from shooter and will. And he's just beginning to move out right towards the top. And although he sets a new high point, he can't top the route. Came down with about a minute left. I think he managed his energy pretty well there. He would have had enough time to do it. I think he'd taken a good look at those moves and thought he knew exactly how much time he needed. And I have to say, had he had the energy to get to the top, I think he'd have had his timing pretty much spot on.
He was quite a long way above, well, not a long way above, but he was getting above that quick draw then. Do you think he would have just reached down if he had got that next hold and clipped it, or was he just going for the plus point?
No, I think he was aiming to carry on, but I think where he was, we'll see a replay, but it didn't look to me like he was in a great position to clip. I think if he felt he could have got the next move, he might well have clipped from there. Now he takes the applause of the crowd. Look at that, absolutely packed right back onto the street in Chamonix, almost onto the Rue Paccard, right behind that Hotel Alpina at the back of the venue. There we see it, 46 plus, the new high point set by Domen Skoffic. Will Bosey drops down to second. So Sascha Lehmann makes his way out onto the stage, made his World Cup debut here in Chamonix 3 years ago, 2015. Been in the final before, but not since 2016. Let's have another look at Domen. So that's the quick draw you were talking about. I think he didn't even look at it. I think he was intending to latch this hold and potentially clip from there. Maybe even swing his legs out to the right and clip it with his left hand.
Yeah, perhaps maybe lift that quick draw up like we saw Jane trying to do, yeah.
I think it was still a couple of moves away, to be honest. But yeah, it's an interesting point. It was down by his ankles, but the what's the word I'm looking for? The webbing of the...
Yeah, he could have got it with his leg.
He could have got
simply,
it, yeah. Is what I mean. The word escapes me. Excuse me, it is 10:30 at night.
It's past my bedtime, Charlie.
Okay, Matt, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, sit a bit.
Yep. Matt, go and get his Roman de Grange pyjamas on. Get to bed.
I told you not to tell anyone about it. Slight hesitation down low, but shouldn't trouble him too much now as he gets into his stride.
So choosing to go pretty slowly, Sascha. We still haven't quite figured out exactly what sort of speed to go. I think Domen was pretty close, which was climb pretty fast basically and take a long rest. Sascha opting to use the first minute of his 6 very low down and taking a much longer rest. He's been climbing superbly though, particularly qualifiers. First day of the lead season in Villars. He looks super strong, top both routes. didn't have the best of times in the semi-final, but he's certainly got the strength. If he can get the head to go with it, we're looking at a serious contender here into his second ever final.
Yeah, finding these moves powerful, you can see a lot of body tension required just to stay on the wall. But like in the semi-finals, he just seemed to keep on going.
Yeah, you can see he's only just at the steepening now. There's the change of angle with 4 minutes left. And he's really beginning to fight now. How's he judged his energy? Can he get something back? Can he get through these moves and recover some energy further on?
He's coming up to the place where Domin spent quite a long time resting. He was so much faster though, so he had the time to rest there.
Yeah, I mean, Domin started resting at 2.5 minutes. So he had ages. You can see how hard Sascha's beginning to fight. Looks like he might be really beginning to get pumped. He's beginning to really pant. I wonder if he's slightly overthinking this. He's just needs to get in a nice, steady rhythm, start getting some moves under his belt.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotion, and we saw him in the semi-finals, how much it meant to him then, just to get into this point, perhaps feeling the pressure a little bit.
He's moved a bit quicker through that last section now. 3 minutes to go. Heading up for the baguettes. We lose Sascha Lehmann just heading for that first of the two. He looked like he burned a lot of energy on the lower section. I just wonder if it came back to haunt him, because as he got higher on the route, it just seemed as if he was tired a bit lower down than the other competitors had been. It's all part of the experience. He's only been in 2 finals, 2 years apart. It's all part of the learning process. But still, amazing effort to get here. Certainly a climber capable of big things, if not this season, then next. But I have to say, I've got a sneaky feeling we might see him in a few more finals this year. He's looked super, super strong.
Yeah, he just didn't quite seem to settle into that route. It looked like he was struggling, it looked like he was fighting very, very early on. How cool is our sport? Look how many people are watching this. It's just amazing.
Where else would you rather be? Stefano, especially with Stefano Ghisolfi, Alex Megos and Jakob Schubert still to come. Last 3 climbers of what's a fabulous evening here in Chamonix. It's always special to be here. This is a man you know well, filmed a lot with him, worked a lot with him.
Yeah, just unbelievably nice guy, always got time for you. Very, very popular.
Yeah, no nonsense with Stefano.
No.
What you see is what you get. One of the friendliest and, as you say, easiest guys to get on with on the circuit. A fiercely determined competitor, but a lovely guy off the wall.
Yeah, he's just built a gym in his basement in Arco, where he's got the crux of his 9B project just sitting there. It's some serious dedication going on.
Yeah, made the move to Arco a few years ago from Turin. Somewhat unsurprisingly, doesn't seem to be regretting it, which if you've been to Arco, you'll understand pretty well.
Confident start from Stefano here.
There's Will Boaty. Has anyone had more fun at the Chamonix World Cup than Will?
Oh, I don't think so. It looked like he waved at us then. I don't think he did, but I'll wave back anyway.
So Stefano, much quicker, much more confident through those early moves.
He's one of those athletes, Stefano, where you expect him to do well. And that must be difficult to manage that kind of expectations, because it's a surprise whenever he falls early, and you just almost believe he will be topping out routes.
He's got a big opportunity here because nobody's topped the route yet. If he tops the route, he'll guarantee himself a medal of some colour, and it's a long way off. It's just interesting to think of what could come. Looking Armstrong looking very confident and looking decisive on this lower section. It looks like every move he gets to, he knows exactly what he wants to do, and then he just executes it and moves on.
Yeah, finding this rest early on before this powerful sequence.
So he's entering this somewhat thuggish section before the two baguette holds. Chamonix crowd really coming to life now. They know they're watching one of the best out there.
These baguettes with those tiny little screw-ons doesn't give you a lot to go off on.
It's the next hold that climbers have been resting from. He holds the jump and the swing seemingly with ease, and he arrives with 3 minutes to go. He's got plenty of time. I think he'll take a reasonable rest here. Just having a look down at the clock.
The crowd saw that as an opportunity to give him a cheer, which is right.
Yeah, he had a look down at the clock there, just trying to figure out how much time he's got, and I think he'll have been very pleasantly surprised by what he saw when he saw that he had well over 2.5 minutes left. He'll take a long rest at this stage, I think. Looks like he's got power to spare on this hold.
Yeah, he's good at those endurance, sort of power endurance moves where it's move after move of high intensity. He's just very good at sort of continuing, powering through those moments. That hole, the most chalked up hole on the route at the moment.
I know, nice, the route sets up to give it a clean. A minute-long rest from Stefano. And he's got the opportunity for another one, not on this hole, but on the next one. And I think with 1:45 on the clock, he might be well advised if he feels he can get some energy back to take another rest on the next hold. Or at least to chalk up again, looks down at the clock, sees that he's got 1 minute 38 left. This is really decisive, composed climbing from Stefano. He's just climbing quickly and efficiently from semi-rest to semi-rest. I'm always reluctant to call it a rest, not exactly lying on the beach, but he's managed this really well time-wise, and it would seem energy-wise. However, the true test of that will be how he gets on with this head wall. Now he goes, there won't be much opportunity for slowing down from here on out. He's now got 1 minute left. Needs to get the clip done. That's where we saw Domen climb past it. Stefano again looks down at the clock, 50 seconds to go. He'll know now, he doesn't need to look again. He's got enough time to top this route. Maybe he does need to look again. He's really not sure. Trust me, Stefano, just keep on motoring and you've got this. Opts to take another rest. He's really spending a lot of time looking at the clock. This is brilliant climbing from Stefano Ghisolfi. He's managed his energy, he's managed his time absolutely brilliantly. Goes for the top and latches it. Stefano Ghisolfi tops the route in Chamonix. He's guaranteed a place on the podium. Who knows what colour the medal will be? Crowd love that. 2 climbers to come.
Oh, I tell you what, that never looked in doubt to me.
No.
All the way from the bottom, he looked like he timed it perfectly. He moved so quickly between those rests as well. He knew he could take his time and then motor through those sections and find another rest. Just shows the level of route reading that he can do.
As I said, the route setters got their choreography spot on with the women's. They've got a top on the third, from the third to last climber in the men's final. So Stefano knows he's going to pick up a medal. He'll just watch now. Interesting, when Jessie Pilz was here, she said, I knew Yanni hadn't topped from the crowd reaction. Surely the guys behind the wall, Jakob and Alex, are well aware the route has just been topped.
Yeah, they'll know what they have to do now. But Alex, of course, a good friend of Stefano. They climb together quite a lot. Stefano actually belayed Alex on his 9B+. So 2 climbers who love outdoor climbing as much as pulling on plastic.
Let's have a look. Oh yes, spot on with the right hand, so accurate.
He hardly stopped swinging before he grabbed that rope then to clip the draw. There he is, Stefano Ghisolfi, top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, pushes Will Bosey down to third place, Domen Skofic into second. Only Stefano at this stage guaranteed a medal. The two just have to wait and see what this man and Jakob Schubert can do.
So Alex looking strong at the moment. We know he's been outdoor climbing an awful lot. Prefers to do that. Obviously he trains a lot. We see him in Cafe Craft all the time on that 45-degree Magnum board they've got. So he does climb on plastic holds, but generally prefers outdoor rock climbing as his training venue.
Really good to see him in more and more World Cups. We want to see the best climbers in the world from whatever their preferences might be for indoor, outdoor, boulder, lead or speed. We want to see them in the World Cups. A lot of neutrals enjoying the experience of watching Alex Megos, not just because he's one of the world's best climbers, because he's also a pretty relaxed and funny guy. I tell you what though, it's all business once he gets on the wall. The nice smiley exterior gets replaced by pretty fiery determination.
Yeah, you can see it there, he's giving it everything. He may pretend to be very chilled out, but he wants to win as much as anyone else. He's a competitive climber. So this first jump to that crimp on the other side of the volume. It doesn't even, it just statically reaches over, such strength. Coming into this area where a few athletes are finding a resting point. He's got the time again, managing this well.
Seems to be going okay so far at this stage, Alex. Nearly 10 years on from his World Cup debut. I know we don't see him in that many competitions so much these days, but he had a long youth climbing career and made his World Cup debut here in Chamonix in 2009. So he likes to play it down a bit, pretend that he's new to the competition, so he's just giving it a go. He's been at it a while. We haven't seen him as much as we'd like to in the past few years, and we hope to see him more, but brilliant performance in the semi-final. What can he turn it into here?
Yeah, he's had a few niggly little injuries. He had a finger tweak that kept him out of competing for a while, but he's back to full fitness now, as you can see.
Already been on a World Cup podium, but never the top step of one. Second in Cran in 2017, just over 9 months ago.
Oof, nearly dropping that bump. Having to give it an extra kick of power.
Alex, being as strong as he is, he should be able to get something back once he gets to these baguette holds. We saw Stefano take a rest from 3 minutes to go to 2 minutes ago. He was paused pretty much for a minute. Alex has now got to the hold after the baguettes where he can rest. What will he do? So he gets almost to the second at the same time as Stefano did. How much rest will he take?
Switching between the heel and the toe there, finding the best, most comfortable position.
So half the rest that Stefano Ghisolfi took, and he's on his way again, and he's climbing quickly now. Is that urgency or design from Alex Megos? Either way, he's absolutely motoring up these moves. He looks like he wants to get on with this route. Suspect the pump kicking in now. He's got one more opportunity for a decent rest, and then there's one just before the final section of moves that we saw Stefano take, where he took repeated looks at the clock. Alex has got to get there first, so he's on to the triangular volume where Will Bosey and Shooter Tanaka fell from. He's past the triangular volume and firmly established on that head wall. Could do with getting the clip done. I think he might get it done from here, so it's one less thing to worry about. He will. Which hand's he going to go up with? I wonder if he's looking at a cross through with the left hand there. Just trying to figure it out for himself. as a final chalk up. There isn't really a rest, it's not a rest. It's time to chalk up, not really time to get any energy left. There's Stefano watching from the crowd. Alex slaps through with the left hand and just seems to run out of energy on that head wall, but wonderful effort from Alex Megos. Great to see him in a World Cup, especially on a stage as big as this in front of 10,000 people. Shakes his head somewhat ruefully. Stefano knows now it's silver or maybe even gold for him. Jakob Schubert still to come.
There's that smile we used to see from Alex. You get the feeling if he had just managed to find half a rest in that position, you can see him fighting for it. He was trying to chalk up, trying to get something back, knew it was a powerful move. Stefano looking on, as I said, good friends, the two of them, so they'll be willing each other on.
There is Alex.
Confused about which way to go, possibly. He hasn't done many of these. Maybe he doesn't
Well,
quite.
so we'd have you believe, yeah.
So one final competitor about to come out now.
Jakob Schubert. Are we about to see, for a second time this evening, an Austrian climber taking gold in Chamonix? Jakob Schubert has won here in Chamonix before. Can he produce it again? He's looked strong this year, but he always looks strong.
So this is it once again, down to the final climber.
Everybody takes a deep breath. 6 minutes to go. Can Austria make it gold and gold? Can Jakob Schubert complete the dream here in Chamonix? 2 months from now, we'll be midway through the World Championships in his hometown in Innsbruck. If he can go in to that competition with a hatful of lead medals, watch out.
Yeah, a slight moment down low there. He looked a little hesitant, but she's recovered nicely now as he goes on top of that big blue hold. They are pretty good, these holds. There's a tiny little lip on some of the lower ones, so it's a nice place to get yourself warmed up and ready for the rest of this brutal route.
So Jakob with 4:50 left on the clock, the 2012 world champion in the lead. Said it earlier, he's greedy for more. He wants more success, more wins. And he's looking handy in all three disciplines this year. Fast on the speed wall. You can see the effort he's been putting into that. And a bit like I said with Akira Noguchi, great to talk about all these young climbers coming through. But if you want to win in overall combined events, you've got to beat this man, and that is no mean feat.
To me, his whole physique has changed. He's looking a lot more built around the shoulder area. He's just looking, I mean, he's always been strong, but he's looking stronger at the moment. Doesn't choose to take a huge rest there. A few of the other guys just taking a moment to shake out, but he moves on through that moment.
Remember that because they were separated by their results in both qualifiers and, more importantly, the semi-final, should Jakob top the route, he will take the win away from Stefano. So it would go to count back to the previous round, which was the semi-final, which Jakob came out on top of.
Perhaps not looking quite as smooth as Stefano at the moment, but we know he's got the power and endurance to pull these moves off. Gets that toe hook, and then release that toe hook, causing that swing out as we see, but he holds it perfectly. Makes the clip. Exactly the same time as Stefano Ghisolfi at that rest moment as well. seconds down the clock. 2 minutes 43 seconds remaining, so as we know, lots of time left to complete this route. You can feel the crowd just waiting for him to go. And most of the athletes who climb this next section quite quickly after this rest just motored through to that second rest.
Take a long goal rest here. Jakob, you'll set off, I would imagine, with around 2 minutes to go. That's what time we saw Stefano set off, and that seemed about right. Jakob, of course, doesn't have access to that information like we do, but if he's as wily a competitor as we know him to be, I think he'll judge it about right. He sets off with 1:53 to go, and the crowd now getting right behind him. Jakob Schubert climbing here for the win, but if he wants it, he'll have to top the route. No other way to win for him.
Here we go, entering the second rest position. It's all down to this final head wall, those small crimps, left, right.
You can see there, top of Stefano Ghisolfi, the current high mark. Can't do better than that. He'll be sitting beneath the wall, just watching like the rest of us, seeing what Jakob Schubert can do.
So where's he going to choose to clip from here? This is where most people have gone from.
I think he'll clip from here. No, he's looking like he's lining up the next move. Slaps across with the left hand. I have no idea how Jakob Schubert held on to that. He's going to try and match and move out right, and he drops it, and that means that Stefano Ghisolfi is going to win here in Chamonix. He's won 3 World Cups before. They've all been in China. He has never won in Europe, and he saves it up for the Place Mont Blanc, crammed with people. Stefano Ghisolfi, your World Cup winner. Jakob Schubert had everyone's heart in their mouths for those last few moves, but as soon as he committed to that move, it looked like he was going to struggle. I thought he might recover it, but he went to match. Just couldn't find the energy. Stefano read the route so perfectly. Jakob, just the tiniest of errors, couldn't quite get himself out of this jam, and I think he knew there that was a very optimistic lunge out to the right.
Yeah, you can see his left elbow rising up there as he was battling the pump. Just didn't look quite comfortable, or as comfortable as Stefano going through that section. But he must be happy with that. I mean, it was a great climb in front of a huge audience.
Yeah, and that means that 2 events in, Jakob has been first and second. So good evening's work for him. And they're all just comparing notes. Jakob just saying, what do you do with that move with the left hand?
Yeah, it's well hard, that.
So there they are, your top 3. Alex Megos ends up on the podium. He's tied on 46 plus with Domen Skofic, but makes his way onto the podium due to count back to the previous round. Will Bosey put on a great show. He ends up 5th. Shooter Tanaka put on a great show. He ends up 6th. In 7th place, Taisei Homer, and in 8th place, Sascha Lehmann.
Well,
We'll grab a word with Stefano and get him to talk us through his route. He looks like he's just comparing notes with Alex and Jakob.
he actually looks surprised, doesn't he?
Well, as I say, 3 World Cup wins. They've all come in China. He's now 1 in Europe. I think we'll have the top 3 introduced again to the crowd.
What a competition this has been. We were saying early on it felt quiet, but the crowd rebuilt up. And I'm going to leave you now, Charlie, because Stefano's just coming over.
Stefano, congratulations.
Thank you.
3 World Cup wins, and now 4. This is the first one outside China.
Yeah, finally.
And on the route, your timing was perfect. You had it almost to the second. Just explain how you were doing it. We saw you looking at the clock a lot.
Yeah, in the observation, I see that there were 2 good rests. Then I took these 2 rests, and once a while I was checking the time. When I have 2 minutes, I started from the first rest. Then I rested a lot on the second, and then when I had 1 minute, I just go. And then I checked the clock before the top. I had 20 seconds, so I just jump and go crazy.
And also, it seemed like you read the route perfectly. Every move, you looked very sure. During observation and during climbing it, was it what you expected from the observation?
Yes, yeah, more or less the same that I expected to climb. Yeah.
Well, it was an amazing moment. Massive congratulations. 4th World Cup win, 1st in Europe. What an amazing night.
Thank you.
And a truly amazing night in both the women's and the men's final. We will see you in just a week's time in the beautiful French town of Briançon. Thank you very much for watching. See you then. We'll see. Stay with us for the podium, but that's all from me and Stefano and Matt. Thank you for watching.
Je souhaite à la France le succès dans la Coupe du Monde de foot. Et c'est pas. Bon, c'est l'Italie qui gagne. Donc. De toute façon, je veux dire, on continue notre marche vers les Jeux Olympiques. Et c'est encore une étape où vraiment l'expérience, la chaleur du public à Chamonix. Donc merci à la ville de Chamonix, merci à la fédération, merci au club de sport. Merci aux athlètes, et merci à vous, parce qu'encore une fois, vous avez rempli la place, et vous avez rempli aussi vos cœurs avec la passion et l'émotion sans fin. Merci. Merci à Marco Scolaris, notre président de l'IFSC. Merci messieurs. On va redescendre, on va célébrer dans un instant les podiums. On commencera évidemment dans l'ordre des compétitions, messieurs, dames, les filles. Et les garçons derrière. Merci à la chaîne d'équipe, merci à Nico, merci à François Legrand pour les commentaires. Ensuite on ira faire la fête, on décomptera tous ensemble pour le feu d'artifice. Allez, on vous laisse un peu en musique, le temps des podiums. Bon, puis merci aussi évidemment à Béal, aux vieux campeurs, à Chita, les partenaires, à 74 sprinters pour les t-shirts, pour tout le marquage. Remerciements aussi à 510 Adidas, merci à Luxov qui était présent, bravo au club des sports de Chamonix, on a des buvettes dans tous les sens. Ne partez pas pour le feu d'artifice, regardez le mur, il y a un chrono à 10, quand j'appuierai sur le bouton, on décomptera et on comptera tous ensemble. Et on pourra envoyer le magnifique feu d'artifice du 14 juillet. Ensuite, on vous souhaitera de bonnes vacances. La Coupe du Monde revient tous les ans, depuis plus de 20 ans maintenant à Chamonix. Merci à Fred Comte, Magali, toute son équipe du club des sports. Bon, mesdames et messieurs, on va y aller dans un instant. Avec le programme et les podiums féminins. Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the IFSC Lead World Cup Chamonix 2018. Mesdames et messieurs, la cérémonie des vainqueurs de la Coupe du Monde d'escalade de difficulté de Chamonix 2018. Please welcome the medalists for the lead climbing women. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir les médaillés d'escalade de difficulté femmes. The medals will be and flower will be presented by. Les médailles et fleurs seront remises par Monsieur Pierriou, président de la Fédération française de la montagne et de l'escalade, Mr. Yu, président of the French Climbing and Mountaineering Federation, accompagné par Alain Richier, sport de Chamonix, accompanied by Mr. Alain Richier, president of the Chamonix Sports Club. Bronze medalist representing Korea. Médaille de bronze représentant la Corée, Yae Kim. Silver medalist representing Slovenia. Médaille d'argent représentant la Slovénie, Yaya Gambret. Gold medalist and winner of the Chamonix IFSC League World Cup 2018, representing Austria. Médaille d'or et vainqueur de la Coupe du Monde de difficulté de Chamonix 2018, représentant l'Autriche, Jessica Pearce. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne national de l'Autriche. Ladies and gentlemen, the World Cup medaliste. Mesdames et messieurs, les médaillés de la Coupe du Monde. On peut les applaudir plus fort, s'il vous plaît. Chamonix, Jessie for her first victory. Yaya Gambret et Yair, juste le top mondial. Alors si vous avez aimé l'escalade, suivez vraiment sur les streaming, regardez les Jeux Olympiques, on les reverra ces demoiselles. Elles vont nous quitter, on va célébrer les podiums. Hommes, ensuite on compte à l'unisson, main dans la main. J'espère que vous ferez attention les uns aux autres ce soir si vous pouvez. Rappelez-vous qu'il y aura des familles dans les rues, des enfants. Prenez soin les uns des autres. Dans un instant, les podiums hommes. Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the IFSC League World Cup Chamonix 2018. Mesdames et messieurs, la cérémonie des vainqueurs de la Coupe du Monde d'escalade de difficulté Chamonix 2018. Please welcome the medalists for the league climbing men. Mr. Marcos Coaris, IFSC President, accompagné de Éric Fournier, président de la communauté de communes de la vallée de Chamonix, maire de Chamonix. Bronze medalist representing Germany. Médaille de bronze représentant l'Allemagne, Alexander Megos. Medalist representing Austria. Médaille d'argent représentant l'Autriche, Jakob Schubert. Gold medalist and winner of the Chamonix IFSC League World Cup 2019 representing Italy. Médaille d'or et vainqueur de la Coupe du Monde de difficulté de Chamonix 2018, représentant l'Italie, Stefano Ghisolfi. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne national de l'Italie. Stefano Ghisolfi, gold medal, Jakob Schubert silver, and Alexander Megos bronze medal. Bravo, congratulations everyone, what a climber. The climber on the podium and the other one, good luck for the next World Cup in Briançon. We love you. Mesdames et messieurs, on vous souhaite évidemment une très très belle fête nationale. Profitez de vos vacances.